Hi, I'm Andrew Rich, and if you're like me, you look at the state of modern wrestling discourse and think, wow, what a cesspool. That's why I'm here to tell you about Music of the Mat Remix. That's right, your favorite wrestling music podcast is back with a new format, where I bring on a guest and we play songs related to wrestling-themed topics. It could be a wrestling reference, a wrestling concept, a wrestling pun, things of that nature. Now you might be saying, Andrew, that is a very, very tenuous connection to pro wrestling on a wrestling podcast network. Is this just an excuse to hang out with your friends and talk about music and ignore the rest of the wrestling landscape? Yes. Yes, it is. So listen to Music of the Mat Remix on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast player of choice.
My name is Tyler Fornes, and I am one of the co-hosts of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungy AEW podcast here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. We take a broad scope approach to the world of All Elite Wrestling and the entire universe of Tony Khan. We talk about the big matches, the big stars, the promos, the storylines, and we also look at it from a big picture perspective. How are things going to change over the course of the next 10 years with AEW still in the picture? How are companies like WWE going to adapt and adjust to AEW? Are they going to be a similar way like they did with WCW in the late 1990s? Will there be a counterpunch? We talk about all of that and more on The Good, The Bad, and The Hungy every week on the Voices of Wrestling Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Here we go! Kiss me like you love sound. Slow down, mama, call me. Whoa, whoa, 君へ片思い。恋が走り出したら。
You're listening to the Emerald FlowShow on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Welcome to episode 93 of the Emerald FlowShow. We're a podcast on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can follow us on all of the social media like Blue Sky and X. We're on all of your favorite podcast apps. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and you can donate to the show at voicesofwrestling.com/donate. I'm Gerard, but this week Paul is away. He is in Ireland, and then he's going to be also attending the WXW shows this weekend. So I brought in not one, but 2 guests for this week, and I think we're going to have some incredible in-depth discussions about Noah and All Japan. First, we have our returning guest, Dylan Fox of the Eastern Lariat. Dylan, how are you doing?
As I understood it, you felt the need to bring in your resident Takashi expert on the show as a Dragon Gate fan, and you knew who to call. You knew who to reach out for. With him, Sugiura being in on Shun's show today, so you knew who to call, and I'm happy to be back, everybody. Shout out to all the Emerald Flow Show listeners out there. Hopefully you guys have a good time listening to us today. I think this is going to be a really momentous and special episode. I feel like I'm, 96 Bulls right here of ProRes podcasting we're about to pull out today.
And next up, I'm very pleased to welcome to the show the author of Ganbaru and the author of the Muto Years, Dr. Jonathan Foye. Jonathan, how are you doing?
I'm really great, Gerard. Thank you so much for having me on here. And I'm just stoked to be on here for the first time, but also finally have a chance to obsess over Takashi as well. I'm not an expert on Takashi, but I remember watching his first match in All Japan and going, oh, I don't know what is with this game or not. And then, I don't know, he starts punching people in the throat repeatedly and then screaming out for the Axe Bomber. And I'm like, no, I'm behind this guy 100%. I don't know what it is, but yeah, we could make this an all Takashi episode if you guys want.
And I hear you have a new book coming out.
That's right. So probably by the time people are listening to this, we'll be, at the time of recording, we're a week away from the crowdfunding campaign. So Indiegogo has the crowdfunding campaign dropping in a week's time. It's my book about pro wrestling Noah from the start of the company up until 2021 and the ups and downs and everything that happened for Noah in that time. That one is called Freedom and Faith. And just finally able to talk about it after 2 years of waiting.
That's amazing. And I can tell you, as someone that owns both of Jonathan's previous books, I can't wait to get my hands on this one.
Both the other people that you're listening to in this show contributed to this book as well. So yeah, both Dylan and Gerard are quoted in this at some point or cited one way or another. So
See, this is my first go-round of being really quoted heavily in your books. I was always like the shadow man of the first two books. You would use my stuff, like the show I did with Hisame for the first book, or maybe some match recommendations and stuff like that. But now I get to be in the book. I feel like I've reached Gerard's level now. The only thing I need left is to get the Hall of Fame vote for the Wrestling Observer, which me and him will do our yearly show on that at some point very soon.
Oh yeah, we got to do that because I don't think there's much to talk about in Japan this year.
No. Listen, this is our first topic. We're giving a special preview segment for that show right here on the Emerald Flow Show.
Yeah.
Is CyberCog a Hall of Famer in your book?
Well, I think he's historically significant in terms of dragging down shows.
Yes. I think there is a subject, there is a person nominated that I think if he gets in, I feel like the bar will be lowered. But if you use that standard, then there are so many people that should be nominated for the Hall of Fame. I would say Gerard.
Well, I'm a big Tiger Jeet Singh voter, like very pro Tiger Jeet Singh. So I am willing to vote for someone with horrible in-ring skills.
I think Tiger Jeet Singh actually is a no-brainer if you're looking from drawing standpoint, if you're looking from sort of impact and
I agree.
Like
I read an article once that really advertised him pretty strongly for the Hall of Fame. I can't remember who wrote it though.
It was me. I won.
Yes, I know it was you.
No, actually, for that, I also I ended up going through. I bought like a 1 week subscription to like newspapers.com, and I just went through all of the old Toronto newspaper, the numbers that he was drawing at Maple Leaf Gardens back in the early 70s, and I mean he was headlining shows that did 15,000, 16,000 people at times.
And he was a babyface at the time as well, too, like in Toronto, and then the complete opposite of that in Japan. Like I think that counts for something, right?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how reliable the numbers are, but he has a couple of allegedly big turnouts and attendances in Mexico too, in UWA against Connect.
All I'm hearing is that your vote is invalid due to being Canadian, as well as Tiger Jeet Singh. You went right to the Toronto newspapers. I'm sensing some bias here. I want this investigated. I'm calling Dave up on this one. I gotta get...
I didn't know that you meant because of bias. I just thought you meant that Canadians couldn't vote.
Do you want my really big hot take about Canadian pro wrestling?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this a couple days ago. Abdullah the Butcher is the greatest Canadian pro wrestler of all time.
Oh man, I know a certain family around from the Calgary area that may not be happy with that statement, Gerard. So you say Abdullah the Butcher over Bret the Hitman Hart?
I'm not gonna like argue about someone with it, but I think you could make that.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, he was a great wrestler. I mean, I'm a huge Puerto Rican wrestling fan, if anybody knows that,
Right.
to be honest. So, I'm with you somewhat. I don't know if I go that far, but I like the cut of your jib, though.
In terms of territories, longevity, and iconic status in multiple countries.
Yeah, I mean, he was,
No?
it was just a whole different level, like him in Puerto Rico than how things were. But obviously, nothing but love for Canada. My idol in wrestling, Owen Hart. I always wanted to wrestle just like him. He's from Canada, so I have nothing but love for you, Abby, the Hitman, all of them. I said I like all the Canadians. Name me one Canadian I don't like. Even in wrestling. Okay, you win. Like you said, you've already won.
Sorry, who did you say, Jonathan? I didn't hear that.
Teddy Hart. Don't worry about not hearing it. You're off to not having heard.
It took him 2 seconds. Look at how fast he was on that.
I only go on podcasts to complain about Teddy Hart is, but
the life we all wish we could live.
I think there's definitely an argument to be made for Abdullah the Butcher. I'm too big a Bret Hart mark.
Can I also, we got to be fair to Bret. When Bret was he got a thing on Canada's Walk of Fame, which is this sidewalk that tries to be, the equivalent in Toronto, the equivalent of what you see in LA. He took the time to say, like, the great pioneers of Canadian pro wrestling. He mentioned Abdullah, and he mentioned Abdullah's name as one of the great Canadian wrestlers on multiple occasions in multiple interviews. So I'm not completely at the lunch on that.
No, like, that's not any kind of crazy statement that you made. I know it might sound that way if you're not familiar with Abby, but like, it's really not at all if you really look at his resume. And I thought he was a great worker for what he was doing. Like, his style. Like, I thought he was really good in a lot of ways.
I always tell people to go watch the matches against the Destroyer from 74 and 75. A very different...
the Destroyer is
Abbey. Yeah.
Yeah. Those matches rule. The Destroyer, man, that guy... I mean, I'm sure he was already a first ballot Hall of Famer, the 96 class. But he should be in everybody's... I know Greatest Wrestler Ever is picking up for next year.
Yep.
That guy's going to get screwed over because he was so long ago. But if you go watch his matches, he's great even by any standards. Man, like, that guy is one of the greatest wrestlers. This man could make wrestling a bear entertaining. Yes, he did. I showed you that match, Dr. Jonathan, years ago when we did this. I was like, hey, check this out. The Destroyer wrestled a bear on there. And it was awesome.
Yeah, also someone who has a bunch of these matches that are completely lost to time because of the fact that they used to just record over stuff back in the day. So his first match against Ricky Dozan is completely lost to time. Apparently that one was the best one that those guys had.
That's interesting because it seems to be generally the Japanese have, like, the more older stuff than seeing the States or Mexico.
Yeah. And he had some amazing matches with Jumbo, Inoki Baba. He wrestled everybody. Like, it was great in all of his matches.
Mil Mascaras.
Yeah, Mil Mascaras. I mean, he was great too. I know, like, a lot of people think he's kind of a jerk, but in his terms of wrestling skills,
he comes from that era of when you are, he comes from that era of that's how this top stars behaved.
Yeah. But he was an incredible worker. Like, nobody should ever undercut, like, his abilities or Destroyers as well. Man, I love this era too. I think it's one of those that never gets talked about as much as it should have. I understand it because it's older. But I just think that era, so many wrestlers could learn from them back then. And I think the people we're mentioning now are all GOAT level. And I just think that they have so many matches you could find. I watched these when Ditch was still around. I was all over. Like, I think I downloaded every single match of that era, the 50s, 60s, and 70s off of that website at one point. So I highly encourage everybody to watch some of that after this show. Hope you enjoyed the show, but after that, watch some Mil Mascaras and some Destroyer and some Abby too.
Absolutely, yeah. Get in the mood. Get ready for Greatest Wrestler Ever in 2026, and think about it, because I did a ballot back in 2021, and I think I'm going to be retaining Kawada as my number one, but there'll be some wrestlers that are going to be moving into my top 10 that I did not have in there before.
I voted in the 2016 one. I did a lot of work on there. You can still see some of my own posts on PWO on certain threads on there on the GWE subforum. But in 2016, my number one was Jumbo, to be honest with you. Kawada was in my top 5. I had Jumbo, Negrocasis, Tenru, Kawada, Kobashi in my top 5. Terry Funk 6. So a lot of good wrestlers there. I don't think you could really argue any of these guys, but I'm interested to see how it goes because I've wavered a little bit on Jumbo, and Bryan Danielson has just like this renaissance he had since 2016.
Of course.
It kind of makes me think a little bit. I never thought I'd go away from Jumbo, but that's made me think. I'll say that.
I mean, I'll put Danielson in my top 10 for sure, but my tentative top
for sure.
3 right now is Kawada, Akira Hokuto at number 2, and Nick Bockwinkel at number 3.
Those are all great picks. Here's my argument against Hokuto. Okay. If you look at the length of her career, like, it just was not as long as a lot of these other top stars, like a Jumbo, for example, my pick. Like, I'll just use that as an example. Like, her career, she retired really early. And she obviously had that great run in 2001. But I just think that if you look at the totality of her career, it's not quality. If you measure peak, because that was a big argument in 2016 when we were doing those threads. A lot of people argued, is it peak versus consistency type of thing? I like to say both are equally valuable. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but if you value peak, Hokuto definitely is a top 3 wrestler of all time, top 5 at worst. It's just the overall quantity of things that makes me drop her a little bit.
Okay, so here's the thing. You peak I'm open to both, and I think that's ultimately my subjective choice, because with Hokuto, it's peak, but with Bockwinkel, it's consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of those are all-time great workers. Again, that's the thing I always had to remind people back then, because it's like, we're debating all of these people who are amazing. And the same reason why, the thing is, I can understand somebody voting Volkan number 1. But that was my argument against him too. And everybody knows how much I love rings and shoot style and all of that stuff. But that was the argument I had to try to be objective, is that, look, these people didn't wrestle nearly, so-and-so may have been a 9.9 to Hokuto or Volkan's 10. But they also have 5 times as many matches that were also great as well. So, like, that's kind of how I had to look at it. But we're really splitting hairs a lot. All of these people really deserve it. And I could totally buy an argument for Hokuto. That's just why she wouldn't be a top 10 for me overall.
I'm with Gerard, though, on the number 1 pick. But I think my criteria might be a little bit different. So for Kawada, he's my absolute top, like, out of all of these, he's number 1 with a bullet, maybe number 1A. Out of the criteria, because out of all of these people, how many of them own ramen shops that I've been to? Like, Bret Hart is amazing. Bret Hart is my 1B or my number 2, but I've never been to a ramen shop owned by Bret. I think he owns like a bar and grill in Calgary. Until I go to that, I can't have him as my number 1. So I've not met Bret, so I'm just going to go completely with the bias to decide between those two. And yeah, Kawada is my number 1 pick for that.
It's hard to argue that argument you made. I have to say on that one, but
nothing to do with the criteria and nothing to do with objectivity. But there's
we don't need that.
There's such a between these picks as well in the top spots. And yeah, for me, it's like Bret Hart and Kawada, and that's they're both such different workers, and you can make an argument either way. So it's a push.
I think we just, by saying that, I think the main thing we all need to gather from this is that everybody should go on YouTube and watch my audio documentary on Kawada. I recorded with WH Park on Post Wrestling.
Excellent.
You will learn a lot about Kawada's inner mindset and many, many great matches we talked about. I love how that's like my gimmick on his show, is that I always do Kawada matches, though. Like, every time I go on WH's shows, it's like I'm always doing Kawada. So I like that became my gimmick on there.
All right, so we'll finally transition to all Japan Pro Wrestling. I know, but you know what? If I knew full well having both of you guys on here, we were going to go into some crazy digressions, right?
Absolutely.
And the point is, we told people, get ready, start thinking about your greatest wrestler ever. So it was all worth it. So before we begin and get into the card that just happened on this past Monday, this past Tuesday, because it was Tuesday that was a holiday in Japan. So What were your feelings coming out of the Royal Road finals? Did the finals make up for what was a very underwhelming, if not bad, tournament? And did you feel that you were like re-energized at all in the company?
Jonathan, I want to hear your thoughts on
Okay.
this one. Yeah.
So I don't know if I can cast back to a classic movie that I assume both of you have seen at some point from 1999. The whole you can be overwhelmed or you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? I think you can in Europe. This is one where basically I felt going out of it exactly as I thought I would. This has never been a great tournament. It's never been one that I leave like excited or enthused about. And I feel like it was a pretty good final between Kento and Honda. And I thought that match was good. The two of them have had better matches actually, but I kind of just left like with the exact kind of enthusiasm I expected to have after the Royal Road this year, which was not to say a whole lot. Like it was not a bad finish by the end of things at all. By any stretch of the imagination, this was not a bad final, but it was a real slog to get through this year's tournament. And I ended up not watching every single show. So I think that speaks, to me, it was exactly where I thought it would be.
Well, first of all, I'm not surprised that you would know that 99 Gabrielle Union I had a crush on when I was 7 years old. So you would bring that up on here. So yes, I did see that movie, Dr. Jonathan. You didn't get one past me, and I knew that you would go with something like that. But nevertheless, the thing is, the tournament was not great. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
I do think the reactions of some people is a little over dramatic on it. Like there was some bad stuff on here. I'm not gonna lie about it. You know, obviously they were pushing, Zion, Odyssey, which we get to on the main show, and that's not always gonna lead to great matches. But I didn't think this was like the worst thing I'd ever seen or anything like that. I think a big part of it that helps is that it was ultimately kind of short.
Yes.
Like when you go through these G1s and things like that, it just feels like a never-ending journey. Even the carnival, there are certain carnivals that are like that just drag on, and especially the 2020 version is one of the worst tournaments I can ever remember. Which coincidentally did take place in September that year because of the pandemic. But nevertheless, it definitely was not. You definitely weren't overwhelmed, to go off of Dr. Jonathan's statement there. But ultimately, I thought they did okay by the end. The Miyahara and Honda match, it didn't like suddenly be like, okay, finally, we've got our match of the year level match we've been missing. But it's like, okay, we at least got a good match I liked watching. I thought the semifinals were okay. I wish that Kento and Sekimoto had been a little bit longer, to be honest with you. But other than that, I thought it was a good show. I really enjoyed the All Asia title match on the Korakuen show, the final. I thought that was like really good. I liked that better than the main event personally, but I thought both were good and well worth watching. So overall, the tournament, definitely a very whelming tournament, I would say.
A whelming tournament. Well, so we'll start with the attendance here at Arena Tachikawa Tachihi, which is out in the west end of Tokyo, like the far west end of Tokyo, outside the special wards that probably most people would be familiar with. And it drew 1,750 fans. And that's clearly a basketball arena or small basketball arena, and we could all figure out who booked that venue for them. But I would say that basically at this point, anything that's larger than what Korakuen can fill is a success for All Japan. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that.
No, you're totally accurate.
I think maybe if they were at Oda Ward, it would have could have broken 2,000, but whatever, it's fine. You want to start running shows outside of Central Tokyo, I think, just to build the fan base out there. So first match, Shotaro Ashino, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Seki Yoshioka, and Fuminori Abe defeated Red Eye Abe, Rising Hayato, Ryo Inoue, and Shota Kofuji, my boy, in 7:14 with the buzzsaw kick from Yoshioka against Kofuji. This was obviously just everybody getting their shit in, and nice to see Yoshioka get the pinfall, and Kofuji goes on his shoulders again, but I think they like him. Jonathan, what do you think of Kofuji? Because I don't know if I've heard you talk about him.
I'm kind of hoping that they'll pick him up at some point and sign him, because I think he's just been one of these guys that has slotted in really nicely to All Japan. I think he would benefit from being in their dojo. I remember the first few times I saw him going, where is this guy from? How is he this good this quickly? And with everything horrible that has happened recently, as far as kind of the loss that we had and everything that has come out of Taishin's passing, I think one thing that they should consider is trying to get this guy locked down. I think it'd fit him perfectly.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, really, I don't know what the budget is, but there's a couple of people that should be signing contracts for this company in January. I think we can all figure out who that is. Oh, those people are actually. So next up, oh boy, Gaora TV title battle royale. Kuroshio Tokyo Japan defeated Takashi by throwing him over the top rope in 15:01, and then we also had Aizawa number 1, Kikutaro, Senor Saito, Kumarashi, Sego Tachibana, and Mr. Saito, Naruki Doi, and Hokuto Omori in this match. Honestly, well, the first thing I'll say is this wasn't quite as bad as I was expecting, even though it kind of went long. They did sort of try at points, but I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I wish Takashi won, because the last thing I want to see is Jiro holding a title in this company again.
That's the first thing I'm going to say about any match that Takashi is in, is I wish he had won. Like that goes without saying. Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. I thought that this would be a lot worse than it was, but I really resolved.
Dylan, are you going to disagree with us on this? Are you going to give a big spirited defense of Jiro?
Absolutely not. I think people who know my history know that I have quite a not happy one with this man and his wrestling abilities that I've suffered through for so many years at the time. I do like how I do want to shout out the cage match review on this match, where it said Takashi's 15 minutes of being the joke of the town have ended. That's mean. Like, he's not even getting 15 minutes of fame. He's 15 minutes of being the joke. And
Takashi had 100-day reign with this title.
Yeah, and he's a champion.
15 minutes.
A champion is not the joke. This is the prestigious Gaora TV title. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I mean, this was a title that once had a handful of good reigns.
Shuji Ishikawa, Seiya Sanada.
Yeah, he was the first one. Sonata. We have to go all the way back, like 15 years ago for that.
Rene Dupree.
He was right around that time as well, the same time as Sonata. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't mind this goofy kind of undercard stuff. You put all the weirdos in one match. It kind of takes away from everyone's weirdo star power, like Takashi as well. It's like, it's hard to really be the goofy guy when you have 10 goofy guys in the match. Yeah. So it really showed you that his overness may be a little bit overall, some would say. But I think it was fine for what it was. I never minded. I liked that they kept all of these guys into one match rather than spread them out over multiple. And one more thing before we move on. I wanted to kind of talk about what Jonathan said, and I wanted to really applaud you and Paul for your episode last time, going on about Nagao and things like that. I thought you guys did a wonderful job of talking about him. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I still feel weird about being like, okay, I can't believe we're commemorating him, but also like this was a good show.
Yeah,
I enjoyed watching, and it's just that sort of like one of those moments where you just have to like just be like, oh, life's got to go on, you know. So
yeah,
you know. Well, I should add that they are doing a memorial show for him on Wednesday, October 29th in Kushiro, which I believe he is from in Hokkaido. So
that's great.
Just got announced. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next up, we have the Pro Wrestling 2025. Daisuke Sakamoto defeated Dan Tamura in 11-12 with the Lariat, which was basically the exact same finish, if I recall, their last singles match, where Dan tries to fight back and then just eats a big Lariat. But I cannot complain. This is exactly what I want for my professional wrestling, even if, you know, Sakamoto is showing his years. He can just still hit really hard, and Dan is willing to also go toe-to-toe with a much larger man. And after the match, they formed a tag team. So I think some of the final 6 teams in the Real World Tag League are starting to take shape on this show. What What are other people's thoughts on this and this new tag team?
Love it. Based on events that we'll talk about a little bit later, we've actually probably got at least half of the remaining field
Yes.
made very obvious by the show. But no, I love these guys teaming together. I could watch them, take that Gara TV title belt and put it on one of these two guys and make this match for the title. And all of a sudden you've changed the entire perception of the thing. But them together would, that's going to be great. I look forward to seeing what they're like together. And Dan Tamura, I run out of ways of talking about how great he is and how little they kind of give him. And I think that the two of them together should be great.
This match was so freaking great. Like, I thought this was such a good match and totally flipped the show on its head. Like, everything after this felt like a different show, outside of the tag title match, maybe. But this match was so good. I love to see that Sekimoto, like, these two fit together so well as a team, and it feels like Sekimoto recognizes that, too. Because I felt like he really tried hard here to make this match work, and totally agree with Jonathan about Tamura. I think that he really looked good here, even though it was a loss. I thought he looked right every bit on Sekimoto's level, which is a nice step up for him. I hope this team does get some run. I actually like them, basically compared to all the other new teams that formed that we're probably about to talk about. This is the one that I think fits the best together, stylistically, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I really have high hopes for them, and I want to see them, and I really enjoyed this match. I would say this is like 3 3/4 and 4-star to me level.
So I give this match a big 0 on the pop and light scale. Would you agree with that?
And thank God for that. Let's say that.
Next up, also speaking of big zeros on the pop and light, or maybe a 0.5, because one of the people in this match, Yuma Aoyagi and Naoya Nomura defeated Yuma Anzai and Ryuki Honda in 17:30 with the Fool from Aoyagi on Anzai. I mean, this was the match of the night. I think technically one of the best matches in All Japan this year, and really, I mean, it's not a very hard thing to do these days, but in terms of just straight 2 versus 2 tag matches in these sort of quote unquote traditional men's companies, they're not really doing a lot of those in terms of like high quality ones these days. In fact, I think All Japan by default often usually does the best 2 versus 2 tags if you sort of want to talk about the classical triumvirate of New Japan, All Japan, and Noah. This is on display here. Nomura is a madman. I don't know how much longer we have him with us, but I pray for him every day. And I mean, just my first, strangely enough, my first emotion when this match finished was one of frustration, because this is what this company can be, but it decides not to be by a very conscious choice. But just it's frustrating. It's beautiful.
I would go even further than that. I would say, based on the fact that we saw this and based on the fact that kind of the other stuff we'll have to talk about, this is just what this company is. And then there's the other stuff, which is what the company is not. And there's this kind of central tension and contradiction with All Japan, with this stuff that is so good and this stuff that clearly they're preferencing, or clearly that they also want to present, which just undermines, undercuts. This should have been the match for the tag titles, for instance, right? I'm moving around a lot of title belts right now, it seems, but yeah, this should have been a tag title, man. This was great. Some puzzling decisions were made after it, though.
Yes, and that's what I think we also have to address. But in terms of the match, I couldn't agree with you more, both of you more. I'd put this a hair under the finals of the junior tournament last month, but this is up there as one of the best All Japan matches of the year for sure. And no surprise that as soon as Anzai gets back, it takes him a week to have a match of the year level match in All Japan. But I think Nomura deserves a lot of credit, like you said.
Absolutely.
It really feels like these guys coming back, it's like it made Aoyagi remember who the hell he is, actually, a little bit as a wrestler. And it's like, okay, because he toned down all the goofy stuff in this match, and he just got to wrestle and be him. Like, this is the man we love, Aoyagi. Why have you gone this strange pop and light route so far? It feels like Nomura, Anzai, maybe both, sat him down and was like, look, Like, we're here to really steal the show for a second. I don't know about you, but you need to keep up. And he was like, okay. But he always teams that way with Nomura, which is why I'm so disappointed with what happened afterwards. Because I think that him and Nomura, that really unlocks the true Yuma. And I just love them together as a team. I would have loved, this is controversial, I'm going to say, and I'm already jumping ahead a little bit. If it were me and you said, okay, let's say, Fukuda came up to us and was like, Dylan, we have to break up this team. I don't care what you do. Nomura and Aoyagi cannot team together anymore. You have to break them up and switch some teams around. I would have put Nomura with Anzai, actually, and Aoyagi with Honda, because I think they fit together much more stylistically. Even if you're going to break them up, I think they fit together perfectly. And Honda's kind of goofy too, so he fits with Aoyagi. But like Nomura and Anzai together is like my dream team. They're one of the best tag teams in the whole world, if not the best, to me. So I would have loved to have seen that rather than what we actually.
Well, so to explain all this, after the match, Yuma Aoyagi gets on the mic and basically puts out the proposal to Anzai. Let's become a tag team. We got the double Yumas now. And so Anzai accepts, and then him and Aoyagi leave together, and then Honda gets on the mic, and Nomura starts walking away, but then Nomura turns around and agrees to form a tag team with Ryuki Honda. And it just feels unnatural. These are not the most ideal pairings. Personally, I would just want to keep the teams as they were.
Yeah, that's the best option, overall.
Right, but you have the second best option, I suppose, if you had to change it. I think this is the worst option.
And how they did it made it even worse, because it made Honda and Nomura look like, afterthoughts. Like, the big team got together. Like, it's like, the two ideal partners just broke up with their spouses, and then the spouses are just like, well, I guess maybe we could try to be together too now.
Well, to me, it also made Anzai look like a bit of a chump, because he got, because I felt like in their exchange, like, Aoyagi felt like the veteran and Anzai the young boy being offered a spot, right?
This would have been the only time I would have approved of him using the gimlet if he did it in response to Aoyagi asking to be his partner. He should have hit him right in the middle of the ring and walked off with Nomura as his new best friend.
So one thing I would say though is, sorry to interrupt you. Basically, for one, the name Double Yuma, well, not Double Yuma, yeah, Double Yuma, just perfect in terms of its simplicity.
I don't know if that's their actual name. I just came up with
it. It should be though.
Right? Yeah,
yes,
Double Yuma. It's just that slight bit awkward, which I love. But I guess these guys, if they, we presume they'll be in the tournament. They'll be in the same block, which means we get to see whatever it is that they're building out of this. If it were me personally, I would hope this would lead to another clash of the Yumas, maybe after the tournament is over, just because I loved what these guys have put on. And Anzai hasn't ever beaten Aoyagi before, so I want to see that.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was this has to be the fun. Like, I will not accept anything other than this as the Real World Tag League Finals, because there's no other teams on this level. Even as awkward as we think they are, these are still the best working teams regardless.
Yes.
I don't want to see, like, the Yumas versus Davey Boy and Kento. Like, I don't. As the finals, right? Or something like that. Which I'm paranoid that's going to happen or something like that, right?
You know that Fukuda listens, and Fukuda's kind of heard you say that and has gone, you know what, I'm down. Let's book this. Davey Boy is going to have a very long tournament.
And honestly, I think if you're doing this angle, this is what the payoff's got to be. And I dare say that it should be Honda and Nomura winning the Real World Tag League.
Yeah, I think they have to be the favorites. I would say right now,
because I think you got to get Anzai into the Triple Crown picture.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, his fate needs to be as a single star ultimately. So we're kind of splitting hairs on his end of the bargain. But I definitely would have preferred Nomura and Aoyagi. Like you said, that was the best option. Just let them win the tag league, have a redemption story, and maybe Nomura could be, if God willing, like he stays healthy, he could be a player next year. And I know you agreed with me, Gerard. And I don't know if you agreed with me, Jonathan, but I presume you did. You're a very intelligent person. We both wanted Nomura to win this damn tournament in the first place, and probably win the Triple Crown. So that needs to be his future too. And I hope that they set that up for all of these people involved. Should be main event level players heading into next year, but especially Anzai needs to be in the Triple Crown more than anyone else.
You could have, both these guys, both Nomura and Anzai, could at some point get pins on Kento to set up future title matches. Like there are ways out of this that could be interesting from this tournament.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Also, I just wanted to add, I know, Dylan, you and Sturga had some Honda pessimism on your last episode, but I'm fine. I think Honda is fine as long as he just wins next year's Royal Road and then the Triple Crown. But I think that's his longer arc, and I think the real focus right now should be on ultimately.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I know Striga was very pessimistic, in particular, about his booking. But I still, like I said, at one point, I thought he was like destined to be a top guy in the company. There's been some ups and downs. He's been one of the biggest victims of the pop and light movement that All Japan has gone through, I would say. But obviously, he's still very talented. I think that he's doing okay for what he's shown as a player in All Japan. I wouldn't say it's like they've gone over the moon and made him feel like a star player, but I do think that can happen, at least to where he feels like a main eventer, if they follow what you said, for sure. I think that's a great idea for him. And I think that he's a guy, he's got all the tools, and hopefully we're heading into a good era for him going forward. But my favorite version of Honda, like I said on that show, was Gungnir of Anarchy Honda with Ashino. That's the team. That's the team I want to come together again, like Ashino and him.
Look, what always blew my mind about that is that they broke them up way too quickly, and I thought they were like all in on them because they gave them that spot on the 50th anniversary show against Get Wild, and it felt like this is the new team of the future. And then they just sort of.
They always did that with Ashino's team. Same thing with Runaway Suplex. They broke that up out of nowhere with Suwama. So it's like, why do you have to do this to my guys, man? Bring back GOA.
Speaking of Ashino, assuming that we've got Dan and Sekimoto together, someone's missing a tag team partner for Real World Tag League.
I was going to ask who you guys would put with Ashino at this point. I mean,
I'm concerned it's some other NXT.
A new member of Havoc. Yeah. I wonder who that could be. We need to do our research on here. I know you mentioned
Killer Cross.
Yeah. Oh, no, not him.
I've got one that would be better, and based on the fact that we're presuming that Hideki is bringing people in, Tim Thatcher. Just putting that out there. I don't know if it's likely, but
I think Thatcher's a coach again in NXT or Evolve or whatever.
Okay, I have another former coach that I think they should reach out to in NXT. Big Kendo, former All Japan star. Kendo Kashin.
I don't know. I'm kind of at a point with everything to do with Ashino where I'm just like, you know what? If it gets him a tag team, if it gets him in,
just give him a spot. That's all we want.
I mean, it gets Cashin away from whatever duties he had with Noah for a little while. I'm kind of demoralized at this point to the extent that I'd probably accept it. You know what? Like, just get it done.
What former Wrestle One guy can they bring in to team with him? Doi is the new member of Havoc.
Takanori Ito.
Yes,
but he's injured.
I don't foresee that happening. I mean, Glate. I mean, you never know who's going to jump ship at that company. God. To be fair,
just do it. Or actually, I just had one out of nowhere. Nakanoe.
That would be good.
He did some All Japan shows recently, and he's looking okay. He's looking good. Like in a tag team setting, I think he'd be great. Actually,
yeah, I'd totally be up for that. to be honest with you. I do love whenever you talk about Big Japan, you bring up So Daimonji being underrated, and I agree with you completely. So I hope you keep doing that.
He's like the most underrated man in Japan. But
yeah,
he really works great and Big Japan. And I wish he would work All Japan. He'd be perfect, but I just think there might be from like the whole like Sod Kasai disappeared, right? In Land's End.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I don't never know if that was on good terms or not when they stopped using him. So Because Daimachi worked All Japan a couple dates when Sai was a regular.
Hey, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Daimachi had not quite grown into what he is now.
No, he was still pretty young then. But yeah, what's Sai up to?
Land's End's still running shows.
Big business. It seems like business is booming. I'm sure Shima's probably on those shows now. Like, that's probably who he reached out to be on there.
Yeah. So up next, we have the PWF World Junior Heavyweight title, where Atsuki Aoyagi defeated Musashi in 17-20 with the Firebird Splash to make his first defense of the title. Good match, no question. I thought started off well, but I brought this up before. I do not like these Atsuki finishing sequences where it's like moonsault, kick out, another moonsault, kick out, just climb to the top again, Firebird Splash. I want a little more drama. These have becoming very anticlimactic. So you got to, I would knock a few points off, but yes, still another very good performance. And honestly, I think I just watching all their performances, I had Hayato ahead as being the top junior in the company, but I think it's Atsuki's reclaimed that again, just in terms of his work. But what say you guys?
What do you think, Jonathan?
I had the tournament final just slightly ahead of this as far as my favorite junior match of All Japan for this year, but this one was right up there. I love these two guys. They can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
I really like the booking too, because you had Musashi and Yoshioka get the titles last week, and now you see Aoyagi going for revenge. That set up an instant story for this match. And a lot of times in All Japan Juniors, outside of this and the tournament final, and all of the history that Aoyagi and Hayato have, a lot of times it's just like, hey, I'm challenging for the title. Like, in a couple weeks, like, you know, I want the title shot. And it's like, okay. And that's basically it in terms of storylines or anything like that with the title. This had some actual logical build to it that played right into each other. Unfortunately, that made this match somewhat of a foregone conclusion. I mean, it already was, but it especially was with Aoyagi losing, right, you know, last week. So I think that kind of hurt it for me. I thought they tried pretty hard, too. I thought the effort was there. I agree with you on the end result, you know, the finishing stretches for Atsuki. I think that he's a guy that's kind of interesting. I agree with you that he is the top star in terms of the junior division now. He's kind of reclaimed that spot from Hayato. But I really loved Musashi's title reign, too. I thought that was a really great story they had. With him, Yoshioka, in that era when Aoyagi was kind of down and Hayato was kind of working the All Asia scene. I thought that was a really good run. I think in general, this division, I made this point on the Lariat. I really feel like this version of the junior division is basically as strong as it's ever been, if not the strongest. I think that up and down, you've got many good challengers and some really good workers here. So you can have a match like this that I think we're lucky that, you know, I agree with you that it was very good. I wouldn't say it was... I definitely thought the tournament final with Hayato was better than this, personally. So I probably rated it a little lower than you, Dr. Jonathan. But I like that, you know, just a match like this, for me, is considered a down match, where 5 years ago, this would be like, whoa, this is the best junior title match of the year type of level. I think they've really grown well.
To give a bit of a shout out here to Jess, the Royal Road, host of the Jumping Knee Pod. She's kind of made this point a few times already, but the juniors have absolutely been carrying All Japan at some points this year. It's been at points the best part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, they've carried this company in a very, very lackluster year through that Junior Battle of Glory and just like that. And honestly, it was sort of interesting that I thought they actually did much better than I thought with Atsuki out for as long as he had been.
Yeah.
All right. So for next up, we've got the World Tag Team Championship. Oh, God. Zion and Odyssey defeated Hideki Suzuki and Kengo Mishimo in 1706 with a diving headbutt from Zion on Suzuki for the title change. So they fall in their V1 defense, big fat zero defenses for Mashimo and Suzuki. I kind of feared that this was going to happen, especially after the Zion and Suzuki exchange on the last Korakuen in their little tribute to Taishin. Because it's like, why is Zion doing the job when he's challenging for the titles? And I was proven correct, and all I got to say about this is that, and it's probably the best thing I could say about this is I just thought this was incredibly bland instead of offensive. But what say you, Dylan?
I didn't think this was that bad. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that this could have been a lot worse.
Sure,
with
absolutely.
with the stuff we've seen from Odyssey and Zion and the tournament in Zion all the way back to the Carnival. That his match with Hideki in the Carnival is still to me among the worst matches of the year. I would
Yeah.
say in Japanese wrestling. Odyssey was only slightly above that level against Hideki in this tournament as well. But I thought here, listen, say what you want, and obviously I'm like the biggest Kengo Mashimo fan in existence. I've loved him forever, like since basically the day I started watching Japanese wrestling. Him and Madoka were my guys. Hideki, how long have I defended that guy on my shows, on Twitter, in the world? I've always been a Hideki fan. I love this team. I was hyped when they won the titles. I love the title match that they had too. The tag titles match.
Yes.
That was an incredible match. This was not nearly as good as that. I'm not lying about that. But I can't come out here and say that this was that bad. And I have to be honest, the crowd is buying into these guys for whatever reason.
They are very over, absolutely. And which I wonder if that was I'm not necessarily thinking that this was a month planned title change, months planned ahead by months ago or anything like that. I think they might have sort of felt like they could go with this because of the crowd responses that Havoc was getting.
Yeah, I mean, Zion obviously has the Taishin connection that they had.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Biggest
that
babyface in the company.
yeah, you said it on the last episode. There, Odyssey has the O deal. Like the fans love that, and he's very big. Like that. That's what I saw in the Eastern Lariat. He has one thing that you cannot deny. That is, he is big, and therefore the fans. I've rallied behind these guys. Obviously, I'm not saying they're my favorite wrestlers, but I still give credit. I thought Hideki in particular, but also Kengo, I thought they both did a really great job in this match of trying to make them look better than they actually are, to be honest.
Well, I think Mashimo, because like I don't know what's up with Hideki and these guys, why he isn't as good as you think he'd be, because you think of Hideki as this great wrestler. I thought Mashimo was much better at trying to pull something out of these other guys.
And I thought he did, though. Like I personally, maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe you guys can tell me like what the hell are you talking about? This match sucked. But I thought that it worked. I thought the defending champs even Hideki, I thought did a good job. Definitely better than the singles match he had with Odyssey on there. So I thought they did a good job. They got it out of him. The fans bought in, and they ended up having a solid win. I hope they lose the titles like in short order, to be fair. But I didn't hate this. I really didn't. And I wanted to. Like, I wanted to bury this 6 feet under, and I wanted to hate all Japan and curse Fukuda's name for taking the belts off of Hideki and Kengo. But I really thought this worked about as good as it possibly could have, all things considered. It was like, and I mean, it's like a 3-star match, ultimately. But that's about as much as we can hope for.
I think it probably it reached its highest possible ceiling. Although I suppose maybe if you cut 5 minutes off of it, it could have been a better match. It just felt really long, longer than 17 minutes. That's for sure.
That's fair. That's a totally fair statement.
Jonathan, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I feel so mixed because, man, I love Zion. That's my countryman right there. That's
that's right.
Someone who was a big star here in football and someone who just I know he's not kind of there with some of the top tier talent in this company or anything like that. He's relatively inexperienced, but I've loved that he's done things like he brought out the Gunso bomb, and I love the initial pairing with him and Ashino. And so that just makes this whole thing it just brings up so many questions for me why they couldn't just stick him and keep him with Ashino and have this moment for them. They were clearly two people that found in each other someone that could match their freak and just who together were the most beautiful pair of weirdos that you ever saw. And just, I like to see him succeed, but not like this. This is a real monkey paw situation. I want to see Zion and I want to see Ashino in a faction that wins the tag titles, and then the monkey paw just moves that extra finger and we end up with this. I didn't I didn't like the result for that reason. I want to see Zion do great things, but not like this, man. Not like this.
So I have a question for you then, Jonathan, because you bring up a good point that I just thought of. And I don't really hear that much about the Australian indie scene these days. I don't know, maybe it's not what it was a number of years ago, but I see here on Zion, since leaving WWE, his last match in WWE was in March 2024. He wrestled twice in TNA in August of 2024. Then he pops up, and in January and February of 2025, he worked four indie shows in Australia, and then it's been All Japan since then. And I'm just wondering, would there be some sort of cachet if he was like doing Australian indies as well? Like, would he be a draw or something in that?
I
scene?
mean, like he could be. It's one of those things where I suspect that he's having previously worked for WWE. I wondered, they had that footage of him when he first met up with Odyssey, when they unveiled Odyssey as the being the
right, they were in the States.
That was in the States. I'm wondering if he's maybe still got a visa over there, if he's still maybe based out there somewhat, because he's only done a little bit of indie stuff here, so perhaps he more remains based in the States and kind of flies over for All Japan is my hazarding a guess here. But yeah, given that he kind of came from, in some ways, he came from that whole performance center environment and stuff like that. I've been pleasantly surprised with how he can go. I'm not always the biggest fan of guys that come from there, so yeah, I don't know about like his indie cachet here. He doesn't do that many shows here, and I'm wondering if he's more based in the States.
Do you think the king of the freaks, Edward Dusk, could match his freak, though, if he worked Australia?
Maybe. I kind of, I guess, like, wondered if, wow, we're just booking all these extra guys in All Japan now, aren't we?
Oh, he would not fit in All Japan at all. That would be funny, though. That would be hilarious if that happened.
At this point, Fukuda has just stopped listening to us. He was going to steal ideas for what not to do, or to go in the opposite direction here. And because we said earlier, we said that we want to see this to be a short title run. He's going to give these guys a 1 year stretch with the world tag team titles, and I just hope that they lose them to whoever wins this upcoming real world tag team tournament, because ultimately I'm going to be there for the Kurikan show that will follow, where maybe that's where they'll have the title change or the title shot for whoever wins this tournament. So exclusively because I'll be there, I want to see that.
Well, it just feels like to me that if you see that, it'll be like you get a turkey sandwich, but it's dry.
Yeah. The turkey's a little dry.
I mean, in terms of who's going to be champions come January 2nd, it's an interesting question, because the first challengers out were the double Yuma. I mean, would they do 2 zero defense title changes in a row?
Yes.
They would, but I'm sort of leaning that Havoc's going to retain.
I suspect so as well, which is why I didn't say that one is what I heard.
But I'm like 55-45 Havoc retains.
Are they going to give up the belts heading into Tag League?
Old school style there, where they have to vacate the title ahead of the tournament. I'd love that.
See, I just think when you willingly vacate a title, you have to have a good storyline reason. Best storyline reason to vacate a title, when Kawada beat Kensuke Sasaki in the Tokyo Dome in a non-title match, and then Kensuke vacated it to be decided in a one-night tournament on January 4th in the Tokyo Dome. But I don't like the idea of how they used to do it every year and just vacate the world tag titles. I don't know, something about that.
Yeah. I'm just we're trying to come up with reasons to get the belts off of them. It's in some form or fashion.
You just have them lose,
Well, there you go. Yeah, just have double Yuma win. Okay, I'm up for this.
Although I think
they
want to establish these guys at least as a threat. So if you put them over the double Yuma, like at once, it'll establish them, and then either them or either the Yumas or Honda and Nomura will do it. Although I suspect, before the Real World Tag League, we're also going to get a defense against Kento and Dig in Odyssey.
Man, you are willing this into existence. That's the third time you brought up Kento and Davey Boy doing something in All Japan. This is your fault, Gerard, if it happens.
I just feels like that's a tag team title that they like and default to on so many.
You're not wrong.
At least when it happens, we'll have something to laugh at, and we'll be able to be like, "Damn it, Gerard!" when they finally do that.
Yes, that's exactly what will happen.
That would be the only good thing to come from it.
And then finally, the main event for the Triple Crown, Kento Miyahara finally defeats Jun Saito in 22:57. Shutdown German suplex hold. Our long nightmare is over. Well, it was maybe a nightmare is a strong word, but it was getting long in the tooth. It had to end. And once again, for whatever reason, this was better than their last Triple Crown match, but still not as good as their Champion Carnival finals, or even I thought as good as their match that they had in the Champion Carnival finals. I just thought it was a little slow and boring for the first half. I thought they did a pretty effective closing stretch, though.
Yeah.
It was, I thought June kicking out of the shutdown was actually a great way to actually like fuck with everybody to thinking, oh my God, he's going to retain.
He's done it before one time, like he did that in the Champion Carnival final, but it was very impactful.
Yes. So that helped. But, I mean, this is the sort of the issues that one runs into with Jun Saito. I am on the record as saying I thought his reign got a little better as it went on. I actually might be the high man on the match against Honda, and I thought that match against Yuma Aoyagi was much better than I was expecting. But it was time, and it just feels right. People are like, oh, it's Kento again, but the man's only 36 years old and is still the biggest star of this company. After this moment, I think he's the perfect person to put it back on. So the Stop the Kento is over. We're back into Start the Kento. Jonathan, what do you think of this match?
I liked it a good deal. To me, it wasn't as good as their Champion Carnival final in 2024. But the thing that really got me and that I really liked about it, that last stretch, you mentioned this, when he hits the shutdown and there's that kick out, the crowd pop was amazing. And then when Kento hits the shutdown and wins, that crowd pop as well. Like hearing the crowd reaction in the last stretch was really great. Like I love the atmosphere of that. And these two have an interesting chemistry. I think Kento brings out the best in probably both the Saitos, but especially here June. And I'd love to see them do this again at some point. Maybe next year's Champion Carnival, but maybe stretch it out that little bit. But yeah, look, I was pretty positive on them doing this as far as June goes. I understand that, the Saito is a pretty decent draw and you need to get them and you need to get what you can from them while you can, because they're, sort of on the older side of things and relatively new to wrestling. So, his reign, is it too early to judge? Is it too early for us to kind of talk about his reign? I kind of think like he didn't quite hit what I'd hoped he would in terms of match quality, but I thought he had some pretty good ones. I don't know. Dylan, what do you think?
To me, I really, really enjoyed the Hideki match in his title reign. I thought that was the peak of where he was at. And I think if I could have changed it, I would have had him drop it afterwards. Because they did that 2 weeks period where you had Honda and then Aoyagi challenge back to back. And I know, Gerard, you've been ready for this to end since Hideki challenge, because we talked about Hideki winning the Triple Crown back then.
He wore the purple tights, man. Like when he wears those tights, he's meant to win.
I agree. Like I 100%.
All this needed to be was 3 defenses, and you just needed him as a credible Triple Crown champion.
Really, it was you only needed 1 defense, like him versus Ray. Like everything else was kind of filler to get to the Ray defense. Like in my opinion. That was the match they clearly begged, they pegged as their greatest achievement that you could do with this title reign. So once you reach that, the interest was not going to carry after that.
7 defenses.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been fine with him getting the 2 title defenses at the start of the year, and then building up to Ray winning the belt. Or not winning the belt, but like just having the title match, or you could have won the belt. Like it would have been fine. But after that, he definitely should have lost. This lasted 3 months longer than it probably should have. But on the other hand, we mentioned it earlier. They ran Eddie on with this match in March, and it did like 2,000 fans. And on this show, they sold out this slightly smaller venue. So, like the business wise, it was okay. Obviously, I think, in my opinion, the Saito brothers are bigger draws together than apart.
I agree, absolutely.
And I think we're going to get them eventually. I do believe the tag belts will also end up in their hands whenever Ray, Ray can get back in there. So that's what I think. I think things are looking up with this Kento run. And I also think that there's been a lot of newer fans of All Japan as well that have been made in the last couple of years, for better or worse. Stylistically, things have changed a lot. and I think that a lot of people in the modern All Japan sphere maybe didn't see all of those prior Kento reigns that we saw as longtime fans. I covered his very first ever title reign that he had. I remembered that because everybody argued with me on Twitter that Zeus should win to win the vacated title, and I said no, it's Kento's time to do it.
Do you remember when people started turning against Kento in 2019?
Yes, I remember. I remember Stock to Kento very well.
Yes,
yes, but he's like, the thing is, this match was not a great match in my opinion, but it fit Kento's tried and true formula. The thing is, yes, it is repetitive. Like, yes, we've seen it a million times, but for the fans, it almost always works in the exact way you described is exactly how I would describe this match. The first half of this was not interesting very much at all, and by the time the match ended, it felt like a dramatic spectacle win for Kento to win, which is basically his formula. Especially when he's fighting bigger guys, is where he basically shines in this role. And I suspect that's how this run will go as well. There will be bigger guys until we can get back to, hopefully, and in both of our hearts and all of our hearts, and probably all the people listening to this, want Anxiety back in that run. And that should be the major match of this Triple Crown run, in my opinion. So I think it was a good decision to get the belt on Kento. I don't care if people hate his run in 2019. Those people all left anyway, probably by now. I don't see too many of those types of fans around anymore. So nowadays, 2025 Kento, I'm excited for it. I know that he's had it a bunch of times, but in this modern era of All Japan, I think it feels a little bit more fresher than it did in years past.
It's the first time he's held the belt since 2022, if I'm not mistaken, or is it
2023?
Yeah, right.
February 2023, he lost to Yuji Nagata, and he hasn't won it since then.
By their standards, that's a pretty long time between title reigns, and
that was the longest between title reigns since he first won the title.
And look, I mean, it is repetitive. It is going back to Kento, but this feels right to me. You know, this feels like going back to something that works and works well. And you know, at the end of this, he had a promo where he referred to himself as being, I think, the psycho ace, like being the strongest ace in Japanese wrestling. And I think that that's kind of what you're wanting right now. Like, it's hard to argue with, right?
Well, New Japan doesn't really have an ace. And
guys retiring.
I think all of us have said many things about the supposed ace of Noah, as much as I do actually really love. Right?
We'll talk more about him coming up in a second.
Yeah. One thing I would say too, we've got for whatever you want to say about it, we've got on top of GLEAT, you've got Nakajima. Right now, Kento has the Triple Crown, and we'll talk about it on the other show. But as far as Masa Kitamiya winning the N1, right now, if you're a fan of Diamond Ring, if you're a fan of Kansuke Office, you're eating pretty well. Yes, actually, that's sort of true, right? With Masa and everything, that's a very good point. I didn't think of it like that, but yeah, all of the Kensuke boys are doing well. I mean, Nakajima's a champion. Doing well, is that the way to put it? I don't know. Yeah, he's doing well by the standards of being in GLEAT, and I know there's just like one person out there who'll hate me for this, but I'd love to see him elsewhere. Is the thing. Doing well for them. I'm not going to disparage this man when he just had an epic title defense against Junjie in GLEAT, okay? Like, this is the company that, goes with, gives the Chinese wrestlers a shot. So, therefore, I think we have to praise them for that. There's definitely some Chinese wrestlers that were in OWE that they have not brought except for them. Yeah. So interestingly enough, we did not get a challenger. No, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Which I thought was a little interesting because we still got, we got a Korakuen in October, and then we got the Hokkaido tour at the end of October, beginning of November. So that was a little surprising. But let's look ahead to what's going on in All Japan. So on Saturday, October 11th at Gyota Green Arena in Saitama. So far announced, we've got Atsuki Aoyagi versus Ryo Inoue for the World Junior title, and Zion and Odyssey versus Yuma, the Yumas.
I don't know, but Inoue versus Aoyagi is gonna rock.
Yeah, like of course it is. It's Inoue. Everything he does right.
Yeah. Oh, when he goes into Dragon Gate.
He was the MVP of that whole segment and match.
Yes. And then on October 22nd at Korakuen Hall, so far the only match announced is Musashi and Seki Yoshioka versus Atsuki Aoyagi in Rising Hayato. And I think they'll retain, but I could also see them dropping it to Hayato and Atsuki, but we'll see.
Should be a banger match, though.
Yeah, nonetheless. And I made that one announcement. They're doing the Taishin Nagao Memorial Show during the Hokkaido Tour, but we have our special participants for the Hokkaido Tour, which are Kumo Rashi, Kuroshio Tokyo Japan, Sego Tachibana, Seki Yoshioka, Hikaru Sato, Shota Kofuji, Talos, Zion, and Odyssey.
Talos squad eating right now, people. He is back.
Also, it looks like Jiro might be back as a regular now more often because he kind of went away a bit as Uptown started. But he's back now, so and got a title. Also, we have a few local and one-time participants during this tournament. On November 1st, Andreza the Giant Panda will be there in Bihoro.
Finally, they've done something right with these goofy bookings.
And
It's
then
time for him to go ahead and eat Jiro and become the Gara TV champion.
Yes, it is.
And on November 2nd in Iowa Mizawa, we have Brute Issei, the Kumagoro, whatever it is.
This is a very bear-themed tour we're embarking on, seemingly.
I know. What's this? Kumagoro Hokai. That's it. Okay. Because I'm just reading off of the translation off of the All Japan website, and that's not the proper how you say it. And then on November 3rd, what I think is really one of the an underrated duo. Dylan, do you remember who I might be speaking of? Underrated duo that shows up in Hokkaido?
Absolutely. I know exactly who you're talking about. I don't know. Who is it?
It's Toyama and
Oh, yeah.
and Yoshida,
Yeah, okay.
who are like Hokkaido guys.
Yeah, I thought Hoshida was the better of the two, but that.
Yeah, they're always on these shows. So
Yeah.
that's although last year I think Kumagoro Hokai he worked like a bunch of shows, and this year he's only on one.
Yeah, didn't they
Which,
give him like a big run around the same time of like last year in All Japan?
You know why I think that was? Because Suwama was still around.
Maybe he could be Ashino's partner for the tag league. Runaway suplex reforms.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, those guys probably. There is an alternate universe where those guys are like 7-time world tag team champions.
Why aren't we in that timeline, Gerard?
I don't know. So, some closing thoughts on All Japan. Jonathan, you go first.
I feel like it's one of those things where I'm enjoying the trajectory overall. I'm liking the kind of way that they've got back to Kanto, and I think at least they didn't keep the Jun Saito reign going longer, and so I'm happy to see Kanto back as champion, and I feel like that's always the correct decision to make, and I'm liking some of what they're doing. There are points on the card around the tag title picture and around the Gara TV title picture that I don't like right now as far as the champions, and I'm happy overall with the direction, but there are just these points that are kind of sore at the moment. I hope that they can sort those out, and I think that there are some promising parts here and there, and I'm looking forward to the tag league, so that's a plus. So I'm kind of just that little bit more positive than negative on All Japan at the moment. I'm hoping that they can overcome those other few things, but Nomura's around, that's great. Kento as champion is great. We have Anzai back, so I think we've got some things to be happy about with this company. It's not all doom and gloom.
Dylan?
I like the show. Like, honestly, I thought the Giant Dream show was a success. I thought the main event, again, they might not have rewrote the book, but I thought it was well done for what it was. The junior title match was good for what it was. The tag title match was great. Or not the tag title match, but the other tag title. It's not a tag title. It's just a regular tag match. That was really good, even though I disagree with the team split. And I really loved Sekimoto and Dan. So I thought that
Yeah.
like those 4 matches were really good. And like I said, nothing was really bad to me. Like even the tag title match, I didn't think was bad. I didn't even think the TV title was that bad. I was happy they put all the guys together. So to me, a pretty strong showing for All Japan. Yes, the tournament was a drag, and it was really not fun to follow. But I think we're heading into better times ahead, even if it's Kumagoro Hokai, and Andres the Giant Panda challenging again for some sort of big match.
Yeah, I feel like they have I like the show too. I just feel like there's a sense of like, okay, let's go in this different direction than the pop and light, and let's emphasize these young great wrestlers, but yet they still manage to screw it up. I just randomly mix around the teams and everything like that. Although I'm actually optimistic, right? But that's to me the Achilles heel of all of this. Are they going to book? No matter, even if they push all of the right guys, are they going to do stupid booking? It's sort of, to me, my biggest concern with this, right?
Maybe they just think it's just going to be fresher that way. You know, it's like
I think that's what they think.
Yeah.
Because whenever All Japan wants to go in a new direction, they scramble all the teams. And they've done this abruptly many times over the last few years, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I think that's what we just witnessed here. Even if we were fine with it, and because Nomura has been hurt, we didn't even get that much of them together as a team recently. They felt like a fresh shot to me. But
the last time Nomura got hurt, he ruined Jin.
Yes, Jin, one of the great lost factions. Yes,
he's one of the great lost factions.
It's a real like what could have been faction. You know, you look at the talent in that, you go like, how did this happen? You know.
Yeah, and those guys are all spread around in. Ayato is whatever. He's still in 2AW, right?
He will never leave 2AW.
He never leaves 2AW.
Yes, and he never will.
Yeah, so that was what could have been one of the great ones on my list for sure.
They should bring Yuma back again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he wants to be back. I really don't think so. He did his one little quick brief return, and that was it, I think, for him.
Yeah, I was saying, I was really hyped when he got announced. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, and then he was like kind of on those Limit Break shows as well.
Look, if Nomura becomes a real regular, and you get like a longer term thing out of it, maybe Iwamoto will be inspired to return. I don't know.
We can hope.
I mean, he did that kind of post. It was a couple like. It was a year ago, maybe longer. He basically said goodbye to All Japan. So
yeah, I got the feeling he didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
so
I don't blame him based on how they pushed him.
I don't know if that's Fukuda or that's Suwama or because I felt like maybe there was something between him and Suwama. So I don't know, but he's I know what he's gonna do because he's a regular in Tenru Project and they're gonna end too, right?
What a shame.
Yeah.
So maybe Iwamoto will come back because one of his because I'm just looking at his cage match now. It's like mostly this year, mostly Tenru Project with the occasional Niigata Pro and like a Sportiva, and then the Limit Break shows. Right? I think that's all he's been doing. So
I think he owns a gym and stuff like that. So he's got a bunch of other projects, I guess. And I don't know. The sad truth is sometimes people that we would love to see back, just it doesn't happen for one reason or another. It's frustrating.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason why I think the master of the Axe Bomber hasn't returned is because he's running his gym.
Yeah.
Right?
I miss him too.
I miss him too. And he hasn't worked at all in 2025.
Yeah. I understand that he's getting up there in years and stuff, but I would have just given him as much yen as he wanted to remain around, kind of with training guys and with having a hand in it. Again, someone else that we could turn into a praise podcast for.
Oh, I love talking about it. I love reminiscing about the great Takao Mori years on a podcast. I've done it many times, actually.
You learned from the best on that one, Gerard. I'd like to say.
Of course. All right, so that is All Japan, and we are going to now go to Pro Wrestling Noah. We have a very big show to talk about the finals, the N1 tournament, and that did 1,598 fans, Supernova Vacancy Full House, yet another one in Korakuen Hall, which, there's nothing to talk about. They are the kings of Korakuen this year. And I'm not surprised, even though, this was probably one of their bigger numbers without Ozawa, although we also saw the Kenta and Marufuji, but I think it is a symbol of their strength in this company, or in this building as a company. And so we start off with the N1 consolation 8-man tag match, and this match turned into a consolation for nobody because Kenta Manabu Soya, Sasaki, and Tetsuya Endo defeated Galeno, Keno, Daiki Inaba, and Ricky Knight Jr. in 9:31 with a Death Valley bomb from Soya and Inaba because Soya hurt his leg. And it was I felt so bad for him because he didn't return all that long ago from another injury that kept him out a while. It's just so crushing. And he's been such a fun just presence on the undercard just with his fire and everything like that, right? God, what a bad break for him. Just
and
so
such
bad.
a great wrestler in Inaba who just can seemingly never catch a break. Just that ending was so awkward too, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, look, this is the logic that they do in Japan. Like, we got to figure a way to finish this instead of doing a ref stoppage, unless, like, they'll call a ref stoppage when it's like really, really bad. But if this guy's still conscious, they're gonna go to a finish.
Yeah,
I know. I love him. I was like always his biggest defender. Like when he first left, even when he's in Wrestle One back then. I feel bad for him for sure on a human level, but even on an in-ring work level, I think he's been a really fun guy since he returned. They had that brief tag run with Soya. He had my favorite match of the whole tournament, to be honest with you. With Keno. So I hope he's okay, and I hope he come back soon.
And every time they have given Inaba the ball to run with, even if it's ever so briefly in Noah, he's run with it. The tag team with Masa Kitamiya, and they won the tag titles. That little mini feud with Marufuji, and then recently with Soya and the tag team, and his run in the N1 this year has always delivered when he's been given the opportunity.
I love that Marufuji feud, and I thought it was one of the most underrated things like this between the two of them.
Yeah, and it was perfect. But no respect. He doesn't get any respect. I haven't heard. Has anyone heard about any more developments on this injury? Because I have not.
They haven't announced anything from what I can see.
Yeah, so prayers up for Inaba. And next up, we have Hayata and Daiki Odashima defeating Takashi Sugiura and Daga in 3:43 by DQ, which was an angle, not a match, really. And in a stunning turn of events, Daga defends the honor of Daiki Odashima from Yoshitatsu. And I mean, how could you not love Daga for going after Yoshitatsu? I mean, what a hero. What a babyface. What a man. And that led to a very brief 32-second match where Daga challenged Yoshitatsu, then beat him with a urine.
Like, I can't believe we're saying this, but I have to say it. Out of all the companies he's been in, this man's been in New Japan, he's been in DDT, he's been in All Japan. Noah has found out the perfect way to book Yoshitatsu. Put him in there for 34 seconds and have him lose with next to no offense. It was perfect.
The thing is, the crazy part of it is, when all this was happening and they set up the match, the crowd went insane. Like, he got a mega pop for Yoshitatsu potentially wrestling.
And also, like, this is the second best use of Yoshitatsu I've seen. The best was the Yoshitatsu Universe stuff in All Japan.
Yes.
Like, when he had that faction that all hated him and they all feuded and then it led to nothing. It was perfect. Like, that was legit very fun to watch.
We've done it. We found the one man alive that liked that. Now live on the Emerald Flow show. I've been looking for this for years.
You and I think
out
about
of,
it. Yeah.
It kept him out of the other stuff, right?
Yeah, and it was so strange and so bizarre. I actually went all the way around and went, you know what? I love this. But no, seriously, like they've made Yoshitatsu and you can they play to that. I think it's probably the best use for him. I quietly enjoy it.
Okay, question for you all. Yoshitatsu Kingdom or Hokuto Gun?
Oh, this is a lot better solely because Okada was not getting wrapped up in this. I wish he was just wrestling anywhere. Big shout out to Yosuke Okada. But still, when that made me so mad every time I watched All Japan in that era and he was doing that stupid stuff. I was like, this is the guy, and you have him in this Yoshitatsu stuff. And I was very annoyed by that. So generational level hater of Yoshitatsu Kingdom.
So you're going with Hokuto Gun?
Absolutely, 1,000,000 times over.
I'm not the biggest fan of All Japan's comedy wrestling and stuff, but as far as that goes, it's at least inoffensive and kind of. Whereas on the other hand, just Yoshitatsu Kingdom, I just can't really pick that over anything. So yeah, I have to.
Yes, it's sort of funny to think about how much roster turnover has happened in All Japan, and then yet we're still basically doing the same sort of angles in the mid card. But
Hey, what happened to Hayata after, when they set up the Yoshitatsu thing?
I don't even
So-
know.
The thing I loved about this, Zavi pointed out this on Twitter, which was the fact that Daga's there, and Daga didn't care that they were putting the boots to Hayata. He's like, yeah, cool, whatever. And then it's putting them to his favorite rook. He's like, no, this is my boy.
I like to think we all would react that way in that situation.
Well,
I
when
mean-
this angle was happening in the Noah chat in the Voice of Wrestling Discord, people were like, "There's a high chance that Hayata also turns and joins Team 2000X over the course of this angle."
That's what I thought was going to happen when I watched it, to be honest. I was like, oh no, we're going to get another Hayata push.
I feel like they need exactly one more guy right now in Team 2000X with the absent injuries and stuff. So why not at this point? Outside of don't give Hayata the belt again. I've enjoyed Hayata when he's not in the realm of the junior title. I found that he's actually had a sneakily good 2025. If nothing else, I don't want to give Dylan a heart attack over here by saying this. Your hatred for this man just knows no bounds. But I've enjoyed his year when he hasn't been around that title or around the tag titles. I've always enjoyed.
To quote the great Paul Vosh, terrorism. But let's just say one thing too. Sugera should have been in the N1 this year.
Yes.
Can we say instead of doing this? I mean, he's meant so much to the company. He's had so many years. I feel like there should be some kind of book that was written around the time he was the man in Noah. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but that's just how I feel about it every time I see him.
I've definitely covered him in as far as his contributions to Noah. You're going to enjoy that aspect, I think, of the book is all I'll say for now. But yeah, I've definitely highlighted him. I actually I got to interview him for that book. So
Wait a minute.
Noah gets to interview Segura, so that was a huge thing. And just one of those dudes that, my one caveat is maybe he didn't want to be in the tournament. He might have actually acted in one this year, and who's going to say no to him?
Wait a minute. You have a book?
Coming out next week, Monday. I don't know, Monday, sorry. That'll be on Wednesday, the 1st of October. The Indiegogo campaign for Faith and Freedom. And basically, as much raving about Segura as I can fit into one book.
Good. I'm glad that's been settled then. That's always something I've said about Segura, that there needs to be a book heavily featuring him.
He'd be a subject of a great book in and of himself, really.
He would. I mean, Segura would be the subject of great anything, in my opinion. Movies, television series, J-dramas, anime, video games. I want him in all of this. Okay, that's how much I love Segura, and to see him in this role makes me kind of sad.
I think it's what he wants at this point.
You're probably right.
I mean, he is 55, which is crazy to think about, even if he is in great shape.
Yeah, he doesn't wrestle.
No, so and he basically is in the position that he can say no if he wants to, and it is what it is, right? Right. I know they don't really have replacements in tournaments when the guy gets injured these days after only one match, but if there was ever an opportunity to have done that, you should just stick Sugera in there for Ozawa, because they were also in the same faction, so it just made perfect sense. But,
Dylan's made this point too, that whenever something went wrong for the company, whenever something happens where someone gets injured, he's always the guy that they turn to who could slot in. So why not just do that right here? You'd think, right?
Yeah, but it is what it is.
True.
So next up, we had another multi-man tag of Go Shiozaki, Kazuyuki Fujita, Mohamed Yone, and Atsushi Kotoge defeating Naomichi Marufuji, Kaito Kiyomiya, Harutoki, and Shuhei Taniguchi in 605 with the Gawan Lariat from Shiozaki on Taniguchi. I mean, this was too short to be anything of it except for just a nice, sweet Go victory, which hopefully, maybe they want to heat him up. Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone else get that vibe?
I hope
I
so.
think Yeah. One of the really funny things that happened though during this one was at the very, very end, they're highlighting Go and everything that's happened in the match. And then Mark Pickering, just as like an aside, as a by the way, says, oh, and also he's still the 0-1 world champion.
Yes, I was going to bring that up too, about him still being the 0-1
I thought that was
champion.
very, very funny, just in the context of that match.
This has to be over a year-long reign that we're in the middle of right now. With Go.
400 days.
One of the best world champions, I think, going right now.
Well, I don't know if anyone watched this commentary, but the 0-1 title was mentioned that he is still the champion.
Yeah. He just right? Jonathan literally just said that.
Oh yeah. Sorry, you broke up there for a second.
No, of
so
course,
not an issue.
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, just basically just by the way, he's still the world champion. That aspect of like Mark Pickering saying that was tremendous to me. But it was the fact that he mentioned it. It does pertain to hopefully there will be a couple more. And also, they pointed out on commentary too that the new Hayabusa has won the Fire Festival, and therefore you will see after that tournament at some point, no doubt, a title shot there. So, I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not to go to the 0-1 show that's going to be on the 1st of January, same day as Noah's big show at the Budokan. It would be a cross town trip right after it. But if that's the match that they line up for it, then I'd be very tempted to go to that Kurikan.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna believe it until I see it that the 0-1 relationship still exists. Because it's one thing for the English commentary just to talk about it, but it's just been very silent and very quiet even since Go got back. So until they announce something, I'm just waiting, and I don't necessarily believe it still exists, especially with just how weird 0-1 is right now.
Yeah,
someone has to be the champion of 0-1.
Someone has to be the champion. I mean, God, does this new 0-1 even technically? Because it's one of those things where you fool the company and then restart it. I think. Much like with what Jun Akiyama did with All Japan. But the question remains is, we don't even know if 0-1 or this current iteration of 0-1 even owns that title.
It needs to be like the UWA 6-man titles. It just transfers to promotion forever. Now, like 30 years from now, I want the 0-1 title to
Where
be...
are those titles? They ended up in Wrestle 1, right?
Yeah, they did.
At one point?
Yeah.
Then where are they now? They should technically go back to Dragon Gate, shouldn't they? Because they were in Toryumon for a while, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Maybe. Tenru had them. I think they were in DDT at some point too. Bring them back. Like we have to bring them back.
That's just like so. Like here we go. Trios Championship. Oh man.
Yeah, I just saw who the champions are listed as.
Well,
what a coincidence on what we were just talking about.
Okay, so if you were wondering, the trio UWA World Trio Champions are Aegon Isu, still after all these years, Shuji Kondo, Takuya Sugawara, and Toru Owaki. And they won that on a Basara show on October 24th, 2021.
I mean, the prestige of these belts continue. Man, if you had told me Sugawara was going to be active in 2025, when I started watching wrestling, or Japanese wrestling in 2008 or whatever, I would have said, no way. Like, no freaking way is he going to last.
I feel like he only became more, well, it's in 0-1, but like, he ended up getting more and more of a singles push over the years, just because 0-1 had no one else.
Yes, exactly. Everyone had to leave, and then that happened.
And then he got a Fire Festival.
Yes, that is accurate. Everything you're saying is true. Kondo, I would have said, oh yeah, he'll definitely be around. But by then, yeah. In 2008, he was the man.
Yeah. And then we had Yohei defeating Tadasuke in 348 by DQ because of a referee assault. I think this was a work injury because they stupidly decided to, but it just was awkward because we already had a leg injury in the first match of the show. That definitely was a shoot. And then, of course, Tadasuke continued to assault Yohei afterwards and put him in a tree of woe. I thought this was just about, for whatever reason, just build in part about just to build heat for Team 2000X and for Tadasuke. I'm not exactly sure if this is actually like a part of a more specific angle with these guys, but maybe Yohei will be out for a bit and then come back and beat Tadasuke or whatever, but who knows? It was just another angle. So I don't really have anything else to say about it except for Tadasuke is trying to get all of the heat in this company.
Yeah. Like second DQ the last 3 matches on this show. I noted.
I know.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah. All Team 2000X. This is Nosawa's, like, Nosawa channeling his inner Gato and just looking for the heat, the heel heat.
I didn't think it was like that bad though. I mean, that's the first time I've actually stopped and thought about it that long, that there were that many. But you know, if you're not going to have them win, having Team 2000X get the DQ is not the worst.
I think it certainly led into what was going to happen in the main event for sure, right? Just to build that sort of heat from the crowd, because they probably might have even expected freaking people out there might be a DQ in the N1 finals or something. My God. But
I thought at one point that there will be, yes.
Yeah, I know. Oh God, yes. And then we had Eita and Junta Miyawaki defeating Hiromu Takahashi and Asuka in 11:01 when Eita pinned Asuka with the trauma. I thought this was a pretty good match. Eita showed up to hit with a pretty good match in the context of like this is a building of Eita versus Hiromu tag match. And I thought Eita looked motivated, which, you know, we have talked about many times on this show, especially in his Noah run. You know, what you're going to get from Eita is going to be what he wants to put into the match. But I think he's excited to face Hiromu in Sumo Hall here. So this was a good match that I thought certainly allayed any concerns that I would have about this match going into it anyway. What say you, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm really into this Hiromu run. I thought that, like you said, you and Paul both said in the last episode, the best match of the tournament was not in the tournament. It was when he won the title over Yohei. You know, so I agreed with that statement then, and I still agree with it. And I really feel like Hiromu, I don't know if it's just because he's been kind of like phased down a little bit in his home company, but he seems so much more into this than his run, last year outside of New Japan. Like, he's really bringing it more here, when the whole time I thought, man, like, this guy just lets me down every single match that he's announced for outside of New Japan. And here it feels like he's really into this. Him and Eita, I think, have good chemistry. And I think that match is going to deliver. I think if Eita brings it, that can work, like, for sure. I was more intrigued by the turn here, to be honest with you, and I don't know where they could possibly be going with this, to be honest, but it at least gives Junta an angle, and I think we all want that, because we pity him, because he's so booked so weakly all the time, and it feels like they're at least doing something with it.
Well, it's funny, because I very much said several months ago, I was like, oh, you know what? Eita is the champion, and he should hold it till New Year's when Juto beats him.
Still thinking that's going to happen.
No. Well, it's not impossible, I suppose, but Hiromu is holding his title until January. I have to.
I mean, he would be a fine choice, but I mean, I liked... What do you think of Amakase as a heel? Like, going forward, and this idea of it?
I mean, yeah, he could play a heel.
I thought he looked pretty good. Yeah, like in this attack angle he did here.
Yeah.
It still was a little bit like, it was kind of cheesy, because it's like, as soon as he turns, he's doing like this really evil, like, look on his face on here, and it's like, dude, you've never done that in like the last 4 years you've been here in Noah, or whatever, and now suddenly he turns on Junta, and like, now he's like the most, common bad guy face that you can make. But still, I thought the attack had good energy to it. I thought it made him look like a dastardly villain. And I hope that they can really have a big grudge match between him and Junta. I think that would be a great way to get Junta, elevate him effectively by beating him in a real feud, rather than just, like, again, a non-storyline title match, which I, felt like it could have happened before. But I think this could be actually even better.
Well, do you expect that to happen? I mean, I've fallen victim to so many times, like, oh, this is when we're going to do something with Junta, this is going to do with Junta, and I don't know.
I would say no, except the fact that they actually don't do stuff with Amakase either that much recently.
They kind of did. They did more with Asuka than they did with Junta, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's a low bar. But it's not like, it doesn't feel like he's really a guy on the come up that much either. Or, I mean, Amakase can just win and it sets up him versus Hiromu. Like, I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, no.
I like Amakase. He's my favorite guy in the company, to be honest, of the junior division. I think he's the best worker. So, You know,
He definitely was for. He definitely was for a couple of years there. Although I am very partial to Yohei these days.
he's really improved a lot, man. That guy deserves a ton of credit. Yohei does. He just needs to get rid of that damn bamboo dragonfly that he always messes up.
Jonathan, what did you think of this match and the direction of this junior division right now?
I mean, like, Amux is a corny guy anyway in the gimmick. He's goes out there and he's speaking like the equivalent of of your old English Japanese kind of thing, and be a corny heel, I think would be great. Like, I don't think there's any issue with that. And at least look, at the end of the day, at least it's something for these guys to. Junta, I think, is one of those wrestlers that for some reason they don't like, or they've had frustration with how he's come along, and I think maybe they don't have the kind of perception that he's good, which I don't agree with at all. I've loved at points, the stuff that this company does with acknowledging the kids in the audience. Like a couple of years back, when I had my son at New Japan's Tokyo Dome show, one of the things that really stood out to me was the way that they interacted with kids, that like they interacted with my son and stuff on the rampway. And Shota Umino actually gave him his wristband that night. And that's something that like Miyawaki's been doing, is, like, interacting with the fans, right? Like with going out there and kind of doing that. I thought that was good to see. I thought that was something. They need to give this guy anything, really. So at least this is something, is what I would say to this.
Sure. And then semi-main event for the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title. Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf defeated Alejandro and Kai Fujimura in 11:50 with the Santa Maria from Bane on Alejandro to make their fourth defense of the titles. This was awesome. Just a crazy spot fest from the jump. And these guys really solidifying themselves as Bane and Alpha Wolf, that is, as one of the best tag teams of the year, if we're being completely honest here. And I just love this. And I'm glad it got the semi-main event, because the junior tag title does not often get that kind of shine on the card. So, yeah, that just, I think, really helped elevate the title as well. What say you, Jonathan?
My favorite match of the night in some ways. And the crowd were really
so.
that. Going into that closing stretch, especially, like the crowd loved that. They were really loud in response to just the last moments of this. And my other favorite moment was, we had so many. There was the stuff on the stairwell at Kurikan is almost a tradition now for big crazy junior matches. But the moment where, I forget if it was Dragon Bane or if it was Alpha Wolf, but just sort of had, I think it was, gonna have to go back and check this moment again as well at some point. But when Alejandro was kind of perched on the top rope, and like not on the actual like turnbuckle, but on the top rope itself, and then I think it was Dragon Bane jumps off the turnbuckle and hits the Hurricane Runner from that top rope with him perched there, like does a little bit of a rope walk then jump. It reminded me the slightest bit of a deep cut here, but Elix Skipper back in TNA, running moment, on the top rope. I love that. I love that moment right there. And the closing stretch with the crowd reacting and going insane over this was really great. This would be, if I had to speed run through this show, or if anyone here has not that much time and needs a speed run, I'd watch this and the main event, and I think you're good for the show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Dylan, how would you rank the Los Copadores in terms of running for the tag team?
The only thing that holds them back, I feel like, is that like no one never gets love in those kind of awards a lot of the time. I feel like, but if you look at their run, I think they've had a really strong run, even especially recently. You had their little extent in Dragon Gate. They had where they faced Flamita and Luis Monte, and I thought that was a really strong match. Here they had that that run earlier in the year where they were doing stuff with Makusa Junta. Even they had a good match earlier in the year. I thought that was one of the best Hayata matches. Him and Kikuchi versus Wolf and Dragon Bane 2. So they did a lot of good stuff this for sure. I think that the tag scene, too, is kind of weaker this year than it's been even in years past. It's always been going down for a while now. But I do think this year, the tag scene, it's not that great. And in the half-year awards for the Eastern Lariat, it was like the astronauts ended up winning again, and it was like that to me is like that's a sign that things have reverted to default pretty much, and we just go with that.
They had a nice little run in DDT. Gotta give them that, but
Yeah.
Because of All Japan being whatever All Japan is this year, even though the Saitos and Business Tag had it, it just felt like they weren't putting out what I expected that they would have. Maybe if you asked me in January how this was going to go.
I agree with that.
There's
for
a couple
sure.
of really good All Japan tags, but I don't think as many as in years past.
And they were usually one of the more consistent ones, especially for heavyweight reigns.
Yeah.
Anzai and Hayato really, I thought, did a great job.
Yes, absolutely. Now, All Japan's a little funny because their real world tag league actually means something. So
that's true, and that we do appreciate it. I really liked Wingori and Stardom. They were my pick for the half year awards, and I think they could very well continue that as things go along. So there are some good teams, but Gopiadoras definitely are up there. I think they should definitely be top 5 for this year, and this match definitely only helped their case because it was really great, to be honest.
In that kind of spirit, like, question for you both is, do you think, I mean, they've had these guys in heavyweights, they've had them in the junior, they were part of Yen 1 last year, if I'm not mistaken. Are they just best off in the junior heavyweight division with Noah kind of carrying this thing and carrying these belts, or would you rather have them in the heavyweights at this point?
Gerard?
Oh, I don't know. Ideally, I would go, look, if Noah being an offshoot of All Japan, really, I want my rough and tumble guys in the heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
I want like Segura and obviously what we have now, right? That to me is like a GHC tag team, heavyweight tag team. I would just keep Los Gopadores in. Maybe they can challenge, but I just keep them in the. If I'm being,
I mean, even back
people that would like the other.
Even back in 2004, we had Kenta Marufuji earlier go against the Untouchables for the tag titles in an incredible match. It was 2004.
Or don't forget Wild 2 versus Kenta and
that was great too. I loved Wild 2 as a team. So that was really good, and I think those are the best usage for your. Because ideally, you do want the juniors to kind of be strong on their own. That's the Noah that I know and love. Is that the junior division is maybe not quite as well pushed as the heavyweights, but it's a very good 1B. Whereas in New Japan, the junior title, it doesn't mean anything practically. At this point because of how they book it. And I want that. Yeah.
And they have allowed that. Well, that's another story, but they've allowed that to sort of just decline of what the junior title once was and everything like that, right?
Yeah, in the old New Japan, the junior title was amazing. You could have Liger face Hashimoto and it'd be totally believable, and everyone wanted it. Kanemoto, all those guys were incredible workers and stuff, and the title felt like a main event level title a lot of times. And that Noah had that same vibe to it. And I think now they're on a good pace. This is a good start. With Hiromu winning the title again, try and recapture some of the magic back, when Liger invaded. I don't think it'll be as good as that, but I do think they have a very healthy division if they want to do it. Just like you said, it's you've kind of, look at Amakasa, maybe it's not as great as he was, but in this match on this show, he did some crazy moves in this match that, you wouldn't see what a lot of guys do. And with Gopiadoras, they're a special team. It's so weird how they did that last year because they weren't just in N1. They gave them wins. They actually gave them, it's not like they were winning the block or anything, but they gave them good protection throughout the tournament to where they felt like viable guys on par with the heavyweights. And I thought that was good. You had Dragon Bane beat the winner of this year's tournament in last year's tournament. Clean in a singles match.
That to me is just sorry to interrupt. Just the paradox of this team is just they have been quite well protected. They've been presented against heavyweights. I almost feel like they're almost not too big for the division, but you know what I mean, right? That the way that Noah has treated the junior division in more recent years is just not what it was at the beginning, obviously. And so it just puts up a paradox as to where you put these guys exactly. But that aside, this was such an awesome match. This shows you what they could be doing with this division and what they should be doing with it. And hopefully we get to see them positioned like this.
I think Wolf is more fitting as a heavyweight than Bane as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like if you wanted to do that, I mean, again, I wouldn't mind them challenging for the titles, but I think they do a lot of good for the junior division.
Yep.
You know, and I like them. I see the cut of your jib for sure. I hope that they get back to it though. Is my main my main statement. I hope that they get back even to where it was 10 years ago with Momotag. Like when they were running the division, that felt like, again, maybe a slight step back from the Kenta era, but it was still a very respected title. You know, they ran that as a big main event. You know, Kotage versus Harada, and I think we could at least get back to that level with this.
Yeah.
And I hope so.
Now, my only issue with Los Copadores is that they might just end up very soon in AAA anyway. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you never know.
You don't want to. You never know. Which also brings me to, speaking of AAA, we forgot to mention after the first match, Charlie Dempsey and Harlan Lewis came out to address Korakuen Hall. Let me ask you this, Dylan. Is this going to lead to the total and complete destruction of Japanese professional wrestling in the next 6? Is the whole thing going to fall apart?
I was really going to say that myself. It's obvious that the takeover has now begun with Harlem Lewis coming in. Yeah, so by that, no. Long story short, like I said, that's nothing even approaching anything like that. I don't know what this is going to really do, other than WWE is actually going to have a Japan show next month.
Yeah.
So they've sent. I mean, we know Dempsey, Harlem Lewis. I couldn't tell you the first thing about this brother, like here on there. I know he's an Evolve guy. I know he's pretty green. The hope is that it would help him. And I suppose we'll see. At the end of the day, I think he's got like some kind of background in football, but I don't know anything about him as a wrestler. Dempsey, I mean, he had his brief stay in All Japan last year. He got a title shot versus. Isn't it amazing that him versus Nakajima was in 2024 for the Triple Crown? That feels like 5 years ago in a lot of ways. It feels like a totally different company from now till then, but. He's obviously a great worker. I don't know what plans they have for him, but
I mean, I like Dempsey, but this Harlem Lewis guy looks like the jaggiest jag that ever jagged. And I just looking over his not very many matches, and we're talking like all like 3-minute matches. So
I mean, this is a fine spot to improve him, I suppose. I mean, maybe this could be like a tag title match with him. You know, Lewis takes the fall. You know, you give him some experience. Dempsey, I mean, he got a Triple Crown shot in All Japan, but it's just the timing of it feels weird because we're heading into the N1 winner getting a title shot as well. So maybe Kenta's still on. Like they worked something out with him. Like he they erased whatever heat there was and said, hey, like hit you and Dempsey, we'll set something up a week after. But it's going to have to be in October before they move out of Japan and go back home.
Yeah.
Whatever they're going to do.
I hope they give us something interesting with Dempsey, like a versus, I don't know, Segura or...
Segura's just the answer to every possible question when it comes to Noah, like no matter
Go.
what. That would be good. 0-1 title match. Dempsey versus Go.
See,
What
there
do
you
you
go.
think
They've got something for it. I don't think they're going to do anything that major with this, just from the way this was presented.
It was totally not presented as a main event angle at all.
No.
Nice to have them and stuff. I feel though like it's just here we have 2 NXT guys. They're going to have a match against each other. They're going to be in competition on that sumo arena show, and then there's going to be probably something back at Kurikan, he said, and I think that's going to be roughly it. I don't think there'll be any GHC title matches or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a nice here we are on excursion thing. I don't know. The segment felt a little awkward too, just with these guys are going to have a match against each other. They had to get across the whole, refusing to share the mic thing and the tension between them, but also they're close enough to be walking out together. That was just a nice little awkward moment for the fans, I thought.
They rode together on the plane. Like the video was them at the airport arriving together.
So we don't like each other quite that much, despite all this time we're spending together.
And speaking of angles, I forgot to mention Minoru Suzuki came out after the that 8-man tag and confronted Ironhead Fujita. And I don't need Minoru Suzuki in Noah in 2025, although I feel like this is going to be just a short stay for that wrestler.
The
So,
takeover
as
that
opposed to
actually almost killed Noah, like in 2015, was Suzuki.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you're right, is all I can say about that. I truly, truly hope you're right that this is not a long run for Suzuki. I don't think you could... I don't know if there's 5 wrestlers I would have rather have least wanted to see walk out than him in Noah.
Yeah. Even though, I mean, he's been less bad this year than in other years or in other recent years, but I just don't think they need it. I thought we have mostly, not completely, we have mostly gotten rid of most of the old guys that hung around this company for way too long. But yeah, it is what it is, I suppose, when you have a Sumo Hosho coming up. So that leads us to the main event in the N1 finals. We had Masa Kitamiya defeating Jack Morris in 22 minutes and 40 seconds to win with the Stranglehold Gamma to win the N1 tournament, which is probably the biggest victory of his career. I had a roller coaster of emotions in this match because this is the best, well, with some caveats that I'm going to get into in a second, but I thought this was shaping up to be the best singles match of Jack Morris's career and one of the best of Kitamiya's, in my opinion. We can point out other great Kitamiya matches, the cage match against Nakajima, some of his matches against Tomohiro Ishii. But then we got the interference, which was completely gratuitous, especially once you went back to it more than once. And I am just anti-interference these days at all. I do not care. It did generate a lot of sympathy for Morris, I have to admit, though, because that crowd was really chanting for him. And I did like the finish, though, of Morris just kicking out of everything and Kitamiya having to go to the Stranglehold Gamma for the ref stoppage. That was a good little finishing sequence, I thought. It made Morris look strong and it established Kitamiya as obviously dominant, although how dominant you have to be, the fact that you had multiple bouts of interference and still it took a while to put him away. But how did you feel about this final, Jonathan?
I loved it. I mean, I think I was okay on the interference because it didn't factor into the final part of this match. It was not like someone came in with a chair and hit Morris in the back and then, Masa kind of crawled over and got the cheap pin. At least it didn't factor into the closing stretch. And if Team 2000X are out there, it's logical to have some form of interference, just keep it limited. I think it was a bit too much to have them interfere twice. I would have just had them do the one and done kind of, then get them the hell out of there type thing. But, I think it made sense in the context of the story, context of the match. For me, the one and only question I sort of have around this entire thing is, here we have this tournament. We saw what happened on the first night. Ozawa taken out because of the injury. Was this the long-term plan, or did they have to clearly shuffle the deck to get Masa there? In a way, it doesn't really matter, and I'm glad that Masa's finally had the chance to win this. But yeah, I just can't help but wonder if Ozawa would have plugged into things a little bit differently had he not been injured. And I say that exclusively because he was my pick to win this entire thing. So, that was all up in smoke on the first night. But yeah, I like this. It's great to see Masa get this. I don't know if he's going to then win the GHC title. I think there's a non-zero chance that he does. But yeah, as far as all this goes, I like this a good deal.
Dylan.
I thought this was good, not great, though I do have to say. I didn't like the interference at all. Personally, I'm totally with you, Gerard. I have no need for this at all. And you have to really just throw out so much logic with a lot of these kind of things. And I think a lot of the emotional response I get is more annoyance than true money heat, so to speak. Especially now in 2025. I never was a big fan of it, but regardless, I think Masa was so great in this match. I do have to say, I think he has really found himself in this role as this badass heel type of guy. There's a great spot where he did Jack's taunt thing that he does to him that got great heat, and then Morris fired up with these kicks on him, and he did this really Andre the Giant almost style sell where he had to fall back into it. I thought he sold that really well. I think offensively and defensively, Masa is great. Like, I really love it. And like I said, I hope that they get through and have a more normal run for him. Because I didn't really like any of his matches because most of his matches featured Tadasuke running in. But like, his skill set is so high. And I feel like this is the time, like, I love that. Hey, like, as I said, he really should be booked as a badass heel, like, monster level guy. And they book him as kind of like a chicken heel, you know? Like, with the interference in the Team 2000 stuff. Like, he shouldn't be the same kind of heel as Ozawa was, to me. Like, he should be much more threatening. And I hope that they get around to that at some point. Morris, some stuff was good. Some of his strikes were a little light, in my opinion. I definitely think he could use it. But when it came time, like, to do the big spots, like the big splash to the floor through the table, like, he did that great. Like, he did a great job selling. I think he's a better defensive wrestler than an offensive wrestler, in my opinion. And I think that's why when he's getting dominated, he knows how to get the crowd really invested in his comebacks and even just stuff like the struggle to the ropes. So I love his charisma. I think he sells really well. Some of his offense, I think, could be a little bit better, whereas I think Masa is an overall great wrestler. So I'm happy that Masa won. I think that's a more interesting match for Kenta, just to have a straight heel. I'd like to be in Kenta's way, whereas Morris is more of a babyface. However, narratively, I think it would have been better if Morris had won, because like that basically would wrap up his Team 2000X storyline and be his ultimate redemption. Whereas Masa's win was more like a real life redemption more than a storyline one. That like, hey, this guy who's been a mid-carder forever now finally has gotten his moment, and he feels like a real challenger rather than just a throwaway guy that they happen to put in there. So I like them both. I think narratively Morris would have been a better winner, but I like Kitamiya better, so I'm happy with it. Pretty much. I would give it like a 7 out of 10, 3.5 star grade.
Do you think that this was Jack Morris's best singles match, or can you think of a better one?
Jack's singles matches, that's interesting. You know, because he's a guy.
There's not much, I don't think.
It was Jack
I think this might be.
Kiyomiya.
There was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be the best one. Maybe the second best overall. I like, you know, the match I liked of his was his match versus Wagner.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, where he won the title. Like, and I think he never was able to really carry the weight of the belt from Wagner. Like, I don't think he ever really showed that he had what it took in ring to live up to what he did with Wagner on that too. And that's when I really kind of soured on him, because I was just like, hey, this guy's really cool. He came from almost nothing and he improved and improved and improved. And when he won the title, I thought, okay, this is a great choice. You're elevating a new guy. And then it just really fizzled out. And I don't think he's really been able to do much. But I think this turn, like the heel turn, we said it on the Eastern Lariat, the heel turn didn't really give him anything in practice. It all went to Ozawa pretty much. But the thing that it gave him was the ability to turn babyface and get the crowd back into him again like he was. So I think he works on that level. But yeah, this would be let's just say this was a top 3 Jack singles match with Masa, even with the interference. If they hadn't had that stuff, it might have been great.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I'm probably leaning to. I think some of it was just why I go with this as being his best singles match, is just like how much the crowd got into him as this match went on. I thought he's beloved by the crowd. Like, they really are into him, and he's a great choice to elevate as the next kind of like top foreign babyface. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I have my.
Well,
everybody just thinks that Jack's gonna leave.
Yeah, if he sticks around.
Well, we can talk about that in another minute.
Yeah.
But before we go to the upcoming Noah shows, does this put, I don't know, did this save is a strong word, but did this at least take some of the, like, the thing is, the N1 never got as bad as the Royal Road did, but it was obviously longer and had more matches, so it felt like more of a slog at times. Do you
it's
think
also an apples to oranges comparison, because, like, All Japan have never put that much into the Royal Road tournament. It's never been an important thing, where Noah have for the N1. So it's almost a different standard.
Well, then I think that makes the N1 look almost a little worse in some ways, because I think compared to some of the last couple of years, this was felt like a slog. Not that there haven't been other questionable choices put in these tournaments in the last couple of years, but
let's put it this way: there was no match as good as Kaito and Oiwa last year. I think if you had a match like that was a match of the year level match, the tournament would have looked better. Because I actually don't think it was that bad. It was just really not that interesting.
Well, yeah, I needed a little more juice in the block stages.
Yeah, and I mentioned it on my Patreon review I did for it, the Noah shows. Night 5 was a great show. Like, if you look at that, top to bottom, Jack and Harutoki, that was one of Harutoki's better matches. Masa and Daga, like Daga's best match probably Masa's best match before the final. Keno and Daiki, that was my favorite match of the whole tournament. Kaito and Oka, that was probably either 1A or 1B with the previous match. And then Endo and Fujita, which I thought was a really good, even though the finish sucked. And that kind of made it look... Yeah, the finish was terrible, like for sure. But the match itself was a lot of fun for what they did, I thought. And the right person won, at least. So like Night 5, that showed you what this tournament could have been if everyone could get out of neutral, which I think the effort was lacking on some of these smaller shows, to be quite honest with you.
Yes, that was...
Well, how would you compare it to the Carnival, then?
I thought... I thought the Carnival ran out of steam, but I thought it took longer to run out of steam than the N1. The N1 became a slog faster than the Carnival.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't like, you know, I can't go and say that the Carnival was perfect or anything like that. I just felt like the Carnival had momentum for like the first 2 or 3 shows. I think even 3 shows. This did not have that.
Yeah, you're right. The first couple of nights, it gave us some hope that I don't know if it was that was quite delivered upon by the end of the tournament.
No, definitely not.
But the thing is, it dipped lower than the N1, in my opinion. Like, it was worse at its worst than the N1 was at its worst. Like this, like this tournament, like the worst stuff was Masa's matches because of the interference, and they weren't even that bad at the end of the day. Or maybe like Fujita doing some of his goofy stuff. But I thought his tournament was okay, like personally. With the Carnival, there were some shows in there that were just like kind of dire, to be honest. Like, you know, like there were some shows that just didn't deliver whatsoever in that mid-tour stage. But, you know, I mean, either one's good. Okay, let me ask you this. What final was better? This one or Ray and Kento?
Ooh, can I give a slight edge to Ray and Kento just because I had no interference?
What do you think, Jonathan?
I'm in on this one. I just like, I'm not against them pushing Ray, and you know, he and Kento don't get him. I need to see a Kento versus Kento match at least one time, just because, you know, the like chant between those two and the confusion in their names alone would make that fun.
Kento going on YouTube and saying, "They look at all the people chanting for me," when they were chanting for Kento, yeah.
And just like the sheer madness between those. Okay, I've just fantasy booked myself into a shoot. That has to happen. Yeah, look, comparing these two matches, I'd give the edge still to the N1 final. I enjoyed it that little bit more. Quite different matches though. Like, one's very clear, like, and you don't get this in Japan very often, a clear face heel dynamic, whereas the other one was more shades of gray and different stories and everything. But yeah, I give the slight edge to the N1 final. I have to say, if you take the last show for the N1 and the first show and watch nothing else, if you just watch the first show and the last show and just assume that all of the shows were on the same level, this would have been one of those banger tournaments. It was it definitely had its lulls and stuff like that. I thought it was good overall. I'd give it the edge over the...
Yeah, me too. I agree with the good doctor on this one. I gave the finals actually the same rating, 3.5 stars. So, but I do think this one... But the thing is, we have the benefit of hindsight with Ray's push that unfortunately, didn't really go anywhere, and he got hurt as well. With this, I suppose we'll have to analyze how this works out for Masa. Do you guys think that he's going to win the title?
I think there's a non-zero chance. I think
we sort of have to ask that question also because of, like, did Kenta beating him by small package during the tournament, was that a result of having to mess around with the
reshuffle the deck, and that's possible. Yeah, I mean that's interesting because if they had to reshuffle it, do you think that means like Ozawa was gonna win?
I'm
Like,
just going to say yes because that was what I predicted.
well, yeah, yes, you did. I was right there when you predicted that. Yes, on there. So I mean that's possible, and this was like a very worthy final. And if that were the case, then Kitamiya would not have made the final if Ozawa was gonna make it and win. Like it would have been either Indo, like I said, or Kaito. You would think.
Yeah.
So I guess when you say it like that, Gerard, I guess Kenta's going to retain the title.
Well, here's the thing. We don't. Well, what realistically, Ozawa 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Is that what
Yes.
the list rank is generally?
Yeah,
Now,
it's a painful injury.
you want to. Okay. Here's a crazy idea. Although I suppose I should double it, given how this guy's been treated in the past. But what about Kitamiya beating Kenta and then Inamura returning as a conquering hero to vanquish him?
Any idea that ends with Inamura being the champion, I'm going to approve of. So you've cheated, pretty much. Like automatically, I'm going to say great idea.
I
Yeah.
just wonder if we're even going to get
Well, yeah, but they're never going to put him on the main roster. They're just going to release him after him.
Yeah,
I mean,
we know that's how WWE work, and we know that like if he's in WWE, he'll be. It's more that like whether or not we even have him a return for him factored in plans at all for Noah. If that's what they do, I'm all for it because that would be like the New Year's show. That would be an ideal main or semi-main event depending on what else they've got lined up. Like those two guys going at it, like I'm already buying my ticket anyway. But yeah, I'm down for that. That sounds awesome.
Listen here, we're talking about NXT main eventer Yoshiki Inamura, title challenger against Omafemi. When they tried to sabotage All In, AEW's biggest show of the year, who did they turn to for the main event that day? Big Yoshiki. That's accurate. That's true. Yeah, I'm telling the truth. I'm not making this up, people.
How can you be both like every word that you said was correct, but it's also wrong somehow at the same?
Well, the stuff I said was true, but maybe that's about his. I think we can say he probably reached his ceiling, being NXT title challenger. But no, I think that would be awesome in there. Like you said, Gerard, I'm kind of on your side. Like he's there and he's done good, and the crowd. Every time they did the tag run with him and Briggs, and every time I watched them, the crowd loved him there. But they love everybody, so it doesn't really much, I suppose. Bring Inamura back, have him win the belt against regardless of who the champion is.
Yeah. So on that sort of theme of upcoming things, quickly upcoming Noah shows. So October 4th at Aichi Lives in Nagoya. We have announced so far GHC National Championship match, Galeno versus Jack Morris, and then of course Charlie Dempsey versus Harlan Lewis. Now let me single this national title match. Could you see Galeno winning and then that's Morris just leaves the company? I mean, I don't think that's impossible. Although
I think we might worry about Galeno leaving. To be honest,
I think Galeno's going to stay a bit longer.
He could use it. He's
Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't very impressed with his tournament at all. I do have to say.
Although I could also see that them giving maybe Morris isn't leaving because we keep thinking he is, but he hasn't yet, and they're giving the national title back to Morris because of how over he is.
Yeah,
So-
that would be good.
But it just seems weird for him to lose again. Why would they book that? Unless
Yeah.
something else was up, right?
Yeah, I think Morris is going to win, personally. But I mean, we'll see.
That's sort of my, and then of course Dempsey's going to win that one.
This is the Harlem Lewis's moment here in Noah.
No matter what, it is the biggest thing that he has done in his entire career.
That's an accurate statement, much like Inamura challenging for the title.
And then October 11th, Wrestle Odyssey at Sumo Hall. So we've got GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, Dragon Bane, Alpha Wolf versus Daga and Deki Odashima. I actually have fairly high expectations for this match because Daga can work with those guys, and Odashima is the Rookie of the Year.
I love Odashima so much. He's honestly one of my favorite guys to watch in Noah.
Absolutely.
He should have been in the tournament. Put him in one on there.
If I could give you guys a really bittersweet thing, Odashima versus Taishin Nagao is my dream match because
Yeah,
you
that
got
would've
this
been a
guy
banger.
that's in all Japan wearing green tights, and you got this guy in Noah who's wearing red tights, both of which are these fired up rookies. Those guys against each other man, I really want.
Yeah, that would have ruled. Like,
That
man.
would have ruled.
Yeah.
Now that I've got everyone depressed, I'm sorry. It's just
Well, I was already not super happy that Daga's getting a title shot, to be fair, but that was worse.
I don't see. I believe, and also I believe Los Scopadori's reign will continue.
Yeah. I mean, Odashima's going to take the fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, this is another example of a junior competing in one with Daga, like going right back in the junior division.
Yep. I actually thought he was going to be a heavyweight until that moment, right? So special singles match: Kazuki Fujita versus Minoru Suzuki. I just hope this lasts no longer than 10 minutes, basically.
Yeah.
They might just have to give them all the time they want because they're the veterans, respected types. But keep it short.
maybe I'm the only one, but I really look forward to this one.
Oh yeah, okay. No, I look. I think if they play it the right way, it could be fun. But I could also see them just like going off and doing their own thing that they want to do. It's just not being very good. That's the problem, right?
These guys, the brief is simple: elbow each other very hard and keep doing that, and that would rule. But yeah, you're right. They could very well not do.
Like there could be like 10 minutes of crowd brawling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless Shinya Aoki is in this match somehow, I don't want to watch Suzuki.
Now I assume Fujita's going to win, right?
You know, it's funny because his run in N1 was basically like useless, kind of. Like he didn't really gain anything by winning or lose anything by losing.
No.
Nobody gained anything by beating him. So, like, what was the point of this run?
Oh, it's to have like a kind of a monster heel, like the kaiju in there that kind of like in the sumo tournament, the one guy that goes through and unexpectedly wins stuff like that. The early guy in the tournament that wins all the time and loses toward the end. Like I think I liked him more than most this year. Like I love that.
I liked his run well enough. I just don't think it really nobody gained anything from it. I don't mind his wrestling. I've always been a fan of his in-ring, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it was just like they wanted him positioned as like the early monster. I don't know about like as far as
it worked.
As far as people winning though or gaining anything from this, I mean, I think that's always been the critique of Noah is kind of like whether or not you had enough people leave with elevation and be elevated out of this tournament was one thing that was maybe lacking. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe obviously Masa, obviously Jack. Yeah. Maybe one or two other people. I don't see, Kendo came out of it all right. I don't see too many other people in general out of this tournament that leave.
And you got Kaito's new gimmick kind of off the ground in the tournament.
There was.
Yeah.
And so next up, we had the aforementioned GHC Junior Heavyweight title match, Hiromu Takahashi and Eita. And I'm generally optimistic on this just because Eita seems motivated and so does Hiromu. That could mean something good.
At one point, Eita was a phenomenal wrestler when he teamed with T-Hawk in Dragon Gate. That was a long time ago. That was like 2014 or something. Yeah, but I'm like you. I think this will be a good match. I'm a believer in GHC Hiromu, and I think Eita's going to deliver.
Yeah. And then in the main event, we've got Kenta defending the GHC Heavyweight Championship against Masa Kitamiya. I think we already talked about this, but I mean, let me ask you this. What's gained by keeping the GHC title on Kenta for an extended period? Does anyone think anything is gained by that? I don't really feel it. It's nice to have the nostalgia run in the Noah 25th anniversary year and Kenta's big return, but I don't think this is something that really needs to go on for very long.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that needs to. The worry there is, and this may be even unjustified, the worry there is that he gets injured sometime during the thing at his point in his career and stuff. But it's been great to see this redemption story and to see him go from where he was at in New Japan to where he's at now and showing what he can do. Yeah. That's been great. It's just, I honestly think ideal point to finish this is either that Sumo Hall show or Sumo Arena show or at whatever comes immediately after that. Just, I don't think a long-term run, like you say, is in his best interest.
I think he's a good representative with the championship, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it needs to go long, but him carrying it through, like up to January 1st, I really don't see why not, to be honest, overall. Unless there's some kind of, here's my caveat to that. Let's say this Ozawa stuff turns out to not be a ruse. Like they're going to go full speed ahead with babyface Ozawa, and we're reshuffling the death. I mean, we already saw Daga leave. If they're going to kick Ozawa out, then Kitamiya as champion is a better call in that case. That gives Ozawa a natural enemy. But if Ozawa is going to come back as a heel, then that kind of makes it weird for him to be the champion over Kenta, who I also think if they are planning to go with a younger wrestler, I think beating Kenta would still mean more than Masa at this point. So it kind of depends on what their plans are for this belt overall, I would say.
But my sort of thing is like, what was the point of creating this new Masa Kitamiya character out of a long-time mid-carder if you weren't going to go all the way? I understand when you have a guy like, remember Yoichi? And
I do remember this.
Or remember Yoda Tsuji's return from Excursion? I know that there were people that wanted them to like instantly win the title, and I'm not against shock wins and on returns like that, but it's not as damaging. Well, the follow-up with Yoichi was damaging, but it's not damaging. It's not damaging when a guy that's been away on Excursion returns and in a new look, new personality, and immediately challenges for the title. It can establish them that, hey, they're going to be a player going forward, even if they don't win. But when you have a guy that's been, how long has he been Noah? Over a decade now? Like since Kent's Diamond Ring closed? Like what, that was 2013? So he's been in the company like 11, 12 years and been a mid-carder, multiple time tag team champion, multiple time unsuccessful GHC title challenger. There's no point in doing the whole character change if they're not going to go all the way with him. I don't know. That's just how I feel about when you do something like that with a long-time mid-carder.
For sure. Right? My one caveat to all that, though, is in Japan, winning the tournament means more than winning the title. Like, it's considered to be a bigger thing. So for him to get the N1, I think they would maybe internally consider that to be even bigger than if he won the GHC, which is not how we view it in the West, like, at all.
Sure.
But I think it's maybe they would view it that way. Again, I would rather see him win the title and kind of get that final kind of full stop on that, kind of make that point. And I see that as being better overall too, just for the company in general.
Well, here's the thing from the Masa point of view. If he wins the title, he's main eventing January 1st. Unless there's some kind of gimmick, Ibushi-like match. But like he's probably main eventing the title. If he loses this match with Kenta, he's probably in a random 6-man. And third from the bottom. Well,
I was going to say, if he loses this, there's nothing else for him to do except for feud with Ozawa if he actually returns as a babyface.
Or maybe if they do have something in mind for, you mentioned like random Ibushi matches who have had random Shinsuke Nakamura matches, that sort of stuff. If they want to position him for something like that, I wouldn't mind that. I would be okay with that. But I just don't think. I think like at some point you have to strap him up and just see what happens.
Yeah, honestly, you guys have kind of convinced me. Like, when we started talking about this, I thought Kenta being the champion was the best bet. But I think that even when you talk about him feuding with Ozawa, that feud seems a lot more lame without the title. It's like, I feel like I would rather it be like that, actually. But let me throw something at you guys before we move on, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's something totally unrelated, but it's something that it's been burning inside of me since we started talking about Noah. And I'd like your reactions on it. And especially, it's a great transition that you brought Nakamura's match up. What's going on with Ulka? Like right now, because it just seemed like a so weird tournament for him. I couldn't believe how it went.
I think, I feel like his charisma has also regressed.
Yeah, he didn't feel like a star player. Yeah.
Not that he was a super fireball of charisma before, but it just feels like he's regressed. I think his wrestling is fine, actually, if you consider how many matches he's actually had. It's really not that many. He started full-time last year, right? It's 2024 or late 2023. So either they've given up on him or they want him to get to a certain amount of experience before they push him to the next level. That's my vibe. It's got to be one of those things, right? I can't see what else it could be.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think the thing is that with Noah, they're big on cycling people in such a way where it's like you do a whole lot and then you don't do very much. You get taken off and kind of put on cool for a little while before they push you again. And I feel like this is the logical standpoint and logical point that someone with less than 2 years experience would end up, even though he's had all that MMA background and everything like that. And he's had an uncanny start as far as how quickly he took up pro wrestling. I think he showed more fire in that tag match that we saw him in on the final night than I saw through him like for the whole tournament. I think he's just at a point right now where they realize he's pretty early in his career still, and maybe they've just cooled him off that little bit. Hopefully it's not that they don't see anything in him. Like, I hope it's not, this guy isn't who.
Okay, I just looked at his kit.
Yeah,
I just looked at his cage match, and he has 153 matches, and his first match was an exhibition match that was a time limit draw on November 13th on a Monday Magic, and it was him and Daisuke Nakamura. It was Daisuke Nakamura and Manny Muto versus Keno and Uka Sasaki. And then his next match after that was on January 1st, 2024, against Takashi Sugiura at Noah the New Year. 153 matches later, should he be further along than he is?
But the thing is, they started this year off with him being the chosen guy to take on Nakamura.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem with it. If he had just not, if we didn't have that spike and then the tag run with Keno where it felt like he was one of their main, he was in the same group with Keno and Kenta, like your two main guys pretty much, or two of your main guys. And to know that we've gone from there to now you're like bottom of the block level guy, something doesn't feel right about that. If they had pushed him, if it was a more even, gradual push up to this point, I think we would say it's okay. But it just seems weird how things have gone for him from the start of 2025 to now, in my opinion.
I mean, he's been interrupted and I guess disrupted by, Ozawa got as hot as he did. And
I think that probably played a role in it.
That played a role for sure. Then you've also seen Kenta come back in and they signed him. And so there's been a few guys jump ahead of him that maybe disrupted whatever the initial plans were, or maybe just have seen him shuffled because of those two guys.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I don't think when he started with this company they knew they were going to get Kenta back. Ozawa had been in the plans for a while, so it was the biggest X factor and everything like that. So I don't think one bad tournament. To me, it's a warning sign, but I'm not ready to completely throw in the towel. I just want to see maybe how the rest of this year goes.
Yeah,
it's nice to watch. And
I like I said, he probably had either my first or second favorite match of the tournament with Kaito. And I liked his team with Keno a lot. I thought they were doing good work.
Yes.
I really thought the Kenta match would have been more than what it was, to be honest. Because I thought that was an actual storyline heading into their match with Kenta breaking up the group. But it just kind of came and went. And it was fine, but it wasn't what it could have been. So I kind of feel like this year, if all goes well, this year may just be considered kind of a lost year for him. And maybe next year they're going to get back on the ball.
I would assume, let's see what they give him at Wrestle Odyssey in that the year.
Good point.
So final thoughts on Noah then. Or actually, you know what I was going to say? I was going to say if I think we would be more at peace with this Kenta title run ending shortly if the match with Marufuji had gone better.
Well, I agree with that personally. But I know the good doctor, he liked that.
Yeah, I did. Because I went in having had people already say that this was terrible, to say that fallen off, that had been disastrous. And I pictured it just being kind of really terrible. And then I watched the thing. I was like, this is not that bad. This is a nostalgia match. This is one I enjoyed watching. So maybe a bit too long. I would have cut it off earlier than they did. But maybe because we're judging too by the standards of what these guys produced in their 20s.
Well, I could forgive the botch very early on the apron, but the ending botches with the go to sleep are that's
for sure. Yeah. But
yeah.
It's also at a point where, at this point in the match, they're pretty exhausted. No matter your age, the match just went too long. And once you hit that point, I can understand in the context of the match, this dude can't quite hit what he normally hits because he's going too long. I was okay with that part. I think though, ultimately, I'd kind of given up on the thought of Kenta hitting a main event spot at this point in his career.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too.
This is all gravy, you know? So to have him win the belt in a really good match, I love that match with Keno so much. And have him go this long with it without injury and without utterly disgracing anything. And the fact that he'll kind of finish, and we won't remember the New Japan run by the time this is all done. Like, that would be a blip. Yeah, if he finishes on a good match with Masa, then I think we'll remember this as a pretty good title run.
See, the thing is, you talked me into going with Masa to win, but saying that, I kind of want Kenta to win now because, because the thing is, that New Japan run literally was ruining his legacy. Like, it was that bad.
That was.
Yeah.
And him on the Indies and on the American Indies.
Yes, that was also terrible, to be fair. But this was a guy who I loved. He was my guy when I first started watching. Like, yellow and brown Kenta, that was my guy. Like, he was the best in the world.
That could pull off brown tights in professional wrestling.
Good.
Also make us think about it in such a way where we go, he was wearing brown tights.
Yeah, exactly. And then we became heavyweight. He had a great run with the title, and it's something I complained about on the internet for years, back in since 2008. And everyone shot me down. They're like, "Oh, Kenta shouldn't be a heavyweight champion. Screw you." And I was like, "No, he could be the best. He could be the champion." And then he finally did it, and I was like, "Yes!" I remembered all those people that insulted me in 2008 when he did good.
You in 2025 for an argument back in 2008, but
I'll never forgive you.
We didn't know each other, but not to do that belatedly, but you would get this guy, right? His entire character he's that guy on the street who's much shorter than the big dude down the street, like the bouncer, but he walks up to him, slaps him in the face, and picks a fight with him. That is the guy you put in the heavyweight division, because that's what you get to see out of it. I think people miss kind of what the point of the character was, his place in the scheme of things with Noah.
And then he was like a very respectable ace character for that year-long title reign that he had as well. And he had a totally different version of himself from young punk Kenta, who we all love so much, of course. But his main event, No Mercy run, was also great. He had a ton of great matches in that run. He even got a good match with Yano in that title reign. This is my guy. I loved him so much. That New Japan run, he was honestly, I said it on the Eastern Lariat, he was literally my number one least favorite wrestler to watch for years. I hated watching his run because I remembered how much I loved him before, and I didn't want to see him in this role. So now that I think about it, this run kind of saved his legacy in a lot of ways, though.
Absolutely.
I think if he had never came back and never had this title run, we would think about his career in a lot more negative light, because when you think about it,
absolutely,
that the WWE run and the New Japan run was nearly as long as his Noah run, his first Noah run. So you're taking a half of his year where he, half of his career where he was either average to absolutely terrible. And now with Noah, we can kind of we've got the good memories back. It was kind of like the cherry on top, and he feels like a legend again. So I would love to see him ended in the biggest stage possible. I guess let's be nice and say either way, whoever wins the title match, I think can be good in completely different ways.
Dylan, were you a 205 Live watcher?
I won't say I never watched that show, but I did fall off for the last few years.
But did you watch the Kenta run?
I don't remember him on that show, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I said I don't remember. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't there. I'm just saying that I don't particularly remember him on that show. I remember him more in NXT.
That was some of the best stuff that he did.
That's the story of 205 Live. Everybody who wrestled on 205 Live, that was the best stuff they did, pretty much in WWE.
All right. So, closing thoughts on Noah, everybody. Jonathan, we'll start with you. How do you feel about this and where everything's going with the company?
I'll just put it this way. I'm really thankful I'm bringing out a book on Noah right now and not a couple of months ago. I think it's looking up. I think things are looking like they're heading in a pretty good direction as far as the company goes. I look forward to this. Well, I have to wait a little bit. I can't watch the October 11 show because a friend of mine's turning 40, that old excuse. But basically, I think that show is going to tell us a lot about where they're headed with a lot of this stuff and what kind of crowds they can draw. But yeah, I think the company's a lot better off than it was at the start of the year for sure.
Dylan?
It's definitely better than it was, especially like a year ago at this time. I think it's really improved from where I would have felt after last year around this time. I still think there's certain things that kind of make me feel like we kind of said on that show with the Daga inexplicable babyface turn. It always feels like we're always a step away from something really weird happening at any part of the card. But with the Kenta title reign, I've been very much enjoying that. I liked, his run in the tournament. I liked most, maybe the tournament even a little better than you guys did from how we talked about it. I think the tag belts are in a good spot with the N1 winner and Sugiura, one of my goats. So Hiromu, I talked about that. I feel like we can be in the midst of a revitalization of the junior division, which I really like. But there is some stuff that it just kind of makes me feel like, man, like where is this going? But overall, I liked it though. I think the company's in a better spot. I mostly agree with Jonathan. It feels like things have potential to go well. Like, my big fear is they do this insane, kind of like the May Ozawa and Kenta match with Masa and Kenta, and it just, makes me really not want to watch this match anymore, or this company anymore. And it's like, okay, we're going right back to where we were with Ozawa. If that's the direction for Masa, I'm probably not going to be too happy. But, like I said, I feel like we're always on a razor's edge from things going just completely off the rails. But right now, it feels firmly on the rails. I think Endo's been a great addition to the company, too.
Yes.
Again, they've needed that guy to bring fresh matches into things. And he feels like a legitimate, star player. He's another guy that kind of jumped ahead of Olka that we didn't even bring about, that came about at the start of the year. So, Kaito's got a new gimmick. I've been begging for that for years now. And I can't wait to see where it goes. I don't think it was a smash hit in the tournament, but I thought it was an improvement from, just him doing what he's been doing. And I can't wait to see the fully formed version of that. So you got a lot of stuff to be hyped about. Yeah, I like it. I think it's doing good right now. Noah's in a good spot, overall right now.
Yeah, I'll just add, I think they are in generally a good spot. I do want a little more direction, especially with the young guys, which is why I keep bringing up, okay, the let's not go too long with Kenta. Not that I don't think he's deserving of a nice little nostalgia run. You got to do a nostalgia run now and again. And this was actually the perfect timing to do a nostalgia run with Kenta, even though I did not love the whole 24-hour title reign for Keno. But to me, it's just the kind of questions I have is, okay, so Ozawa's out. What's his long-term direction? Is Inamura coming back? Apparently, their dojo, they've got 6 guys in that dojo with. If that's true and they actually graduate all 6 of them,
that has to be a record for the history of the company.
So that's a bright sign. But I think we're heading into the time of the year where we're going to get more of a idea of where we're going, and it's actually going to tell us if there's going to be anything. I think we'll know pretty soon if 2026 looks like it's going to be successful or not, or if no. Because here's the thing: for so long, I would say, okay, think about how many screw ups that think of peak New Japan from the last decade. Think about how many screw-ups they had to make before people, every time there was screw-ups, some people would throw up their hands, but it would, it would snowball.
Usually me.
More people. Yeah. Yeah. I always say that All Japan is only one step away from disaster, although I think at one point, not too long ago, I revised that to 2 steps away from disaster because of Anzai. Right,
yes.
Establishing himself, but Noah is still in that 1 or 2 steps away of just completely treading water again. But they do have a foundation that they can build off of. I will say that, and I think generally, I am cautiously optimistic in the direction of the company. So let's get our plugs in, Dylan.
Check me out on the Eastern Lariat. Like I said at the start of the show, me and Gerard are going to do a Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame show. But if you don't know me, don't know my show. We talk about New Japan, All Japan, Noah, Joshi, DDT, Dragon Gate. Sometimes we go even deeper down the line, depending on what Stringer watches. He's my co-host on the show, the fellow German, much like Paul Vosch. We're always on cagematch.net. check us out on YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. Patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. You get some bonus stuff from me on there. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff there. I also do Wrestle Update, which is a show all about American wrestling with my friend, filmmaker, Nello De Angelis. And we are actually going to do a special episode of the Eastern Lariat covering Gaya Girls, which is like a legendary documentary about Joshi wrestling. That'll probably be up by the time this is out. If not, it'll be right after we put it up. We've already recorded it. So that's going to be fun. Check that out. Lucha Talk, my third show with Microman Fever. We are officially back covering Anniversario 92. We just put that up today as we're recording. So lots of cool stuff going on. Check me out on Twitter. At Viva_0, Blue Sky, everywhere else is at Viva0. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to you, the listeners. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And I can't wait to be back and make an auspicious and audacious and amazing return to the Emerald Flow Show.
Thank you, Dylan. And Jonathan, I think you have something to plug if I'm not mistaken.
Well, thanks for having me on. And it's been a dream to be on here and to kind of get to talk all this stuff about All Japan and Noah. I have upcoming 1 week from today when we're recording, but on the 1st of October, for anyone in North America, the Indiegogo campaign launches for Freedom and Faith, which is my third book, my first book through a publisher, through Hybrid Shoot. And again, that goes into the history of Pro Wrestling Noah. It's been 2 years since I submitted this thing to be published, so I'm stoked that it's finally getting out there. For anyone outside of North America, you can, through that campaign, order an ebook version. And if you don't want that, if you're outside North America, you can wait until November when the general sale happens. So really stoked to see this finally out after so long of waiting. I interviewed Mike Modest, who does the forward for this one. I interviewed Segura, Jack Morris. I'm forgetting a bunch of people right now, but I was really lucky to be able to do this one. So yeah, check it out when it's out.
Can I ask you, was your interview with Jack Morris sublime?
It was sublime every time. Seriously, dude has some really deep thoughts as far as his wrestling goes, as far as Noah goes. His fandom for the company goes back longer than I thought it did. And he was watching a lot of those older Kabashi matches and stuff like that. Had a lot of thoughts on that.
Nice. Well, that's actually really exciting. That's a great something to really look forward to. And I know that I'm going just based off of the interview lists alone. That's amazing.
Marufuji was the guy I was trying to remember that I also have. Yeah, you know, that one obscure guy who maybe did some stuff.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I mean, I'm gonna just plug the book because I like, if you've read, and I've read both of Jonathan's books before, and just based off of these interviews, that's amazing, and I'm very confident that it's going to be. So I can't wait for that book. So yeah, and well, let me ask you this: do you have? I know maybe you don't want to give away many details, but is there a possible another book in a wrestling book in the offing after you get this one out?
Yep. So Fumi Saito and I finished, and we've submitted to the publisher to Hybrid Shoot. I'm thinking that the title at the moment is Joshi Pro Wrest, the Rise and Fall of All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling, which covers the whole of that company. So we had an interview with Debbie Malenko, and she also provides the forward for that one. And again, a long waiting game because Hybrid Shoot have a lot of other stuff in the offing. I recommend actually people check out their stuff too. They've got some really cool books. Apart from my own stuff, there's just about every type of wrestling you want to think about. But yeah, so Fumi and I worked on that one over the last year, and yeah, that was a blast. He and I have something else cooking as well that I'm looking forward to being able to talk about, but still early days. I could talk to you guys about it off the air, but yeah, for now, just that one and a couple more things happening that I can't talk about yet.
Nice. Sure. No, but definitely people keep an eye on what Jonathan is up to. I think it's a great resource, especially for like the English speaking world, to actually get a lot of details about Japanese wrestling history that has sometimes vexed us. And there have been obviously debates about what actually happened in certain cases because some things have never been translated or get lost in translation. So you're doing invaluable work.
going to be the final word on any of that. A lot of these debates will continue with us.
Sure. But some clarification would be a big help for some of these things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for Jonathan and Dylan, I'm Gerard, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. So enjoy all the wrestling out there. Take care. Bye.
Hey kids, Jeff Hawkins from Shake Them Ropes here, and for almost 15 years we have been part of Voices of Wrestling. Myself and Chris Novembrino give a review of that week's news, the lazy river of wrestling criticism of that week's WWE and AEW, and then Vader Club, where we watch something from one of our past, or something we may have missed. Smart, snarky, and sometimes serious, but not always. That's us, and if that's your vibe, we'd love to have you listen to Shake Them Ropes every week on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
Wrestling Omakase is back, baby. The weekly podcast that takes you across all the top promotions on the entire Japanese wrestling scene, from New Japan to Stardom, Noah, DDT, All Japan, Mari Gold, Dragon Gate, Tokyo Joshi, Sendai Girls, and a whole lot more. I'm John Carroll, a fan of Japanese wrestling for over 20 years, and every week I'm joined by a rotating cast of guest co-hosts as we break down all the top promotions in Japan, men's and women's. Check out Wrestling Omakase right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network today.